But hey, enough of my yakking. What do you say? Let's boogie.
And that is my cue to start the show. Welcome to another Thursday night edition of the Hard Rockin' Sports Show, live from high atop Hard Rockin' Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 3-hour weekly get-together where we bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and, of course, the wide world of sports. And, guys, it's another Thursday night, August the 26th, getting late in the year, folks. And, of course, in the year of our beloved Jesus Christ, 2021. Guys, I hope you've had a great week. It's been hot. I've had a very tough week. I'm getting old. I see it. I feel it. But I still love Thursday nights. I get to talk with my best friend, one of my dearest buddies, and the guy who's like a brother to me, Mr. Jeff Towinski. We get to talk about with you guys, bring up some of the biggest news topics for sports and music. Tonight, it's a little bittersweet. We love to do the show, and we love to acknowledge people. Sometimes the show has to face the realities of life. It's not all about missing hitting fastballs and missed draft picks and wasted opportunities and bad albums. Sometimes it's about true life. And this week, we pay tribute to one of Staten Island's best guitar players. From what I understand, a great guy. And a guy who's played in the island music scene for a very long time, with the passing of Mr. David Weeks, best known, I guess, for the JWB band, which I opened up the show with a little bit of their music, and we'll play a little bit more later. But David, unfortunately, passed away this week suddenly, and Jeff thought it would be a great idea to pay a little tribute to Dave, and of course, I backed Jeff up, and even though not knowing Dave, I do know the JWB band. They did open up. They did close one of the Hard Rockin' Sports benefits back in the day, so we thought we'd do something to pay a little tribute. We'll have his singer, Mario Ortiz, pop it up a little later on. I understand his drummer, Steve Barber, will also be calling in, and his daughter, I don't know her name, I apologize, but she will also be calling in. We may have some other people checking in to say hello, and we'll do our best to pay tribute. We'll play another song a little bit later on from the JWB band with featuring Dave. And hopefully we'll get some stories out there and get to know Dave and maybe let you guys know Dave a little bit along the way. And, again, you guys want to check in, 347-826-9934. That's the number on the radio side. Of course, you can reach out to Jeff and I on a DM, and we'll get you right on video if you want. And you can come on and talk about Dave and some of the other topics. We also have the passing of Charlie Watts. The 80-year-old drummer for the Rolling Stones passed away this week. We'll get to that a little bit and some of the things on the Rolling Stones. I'm not the biggest Stones fan, but when guys like that and legendary bands go, we got to acknowledge it. Rod Gilbert passed away this week from the Goal Again line, from Goal Again line, New York Rangers of the 60s and 70s. Rod was Mr. Ranger, and we'll get a little bit maybe on him tonight. We got Yankees, Mets, Giants. We got football. We got some Geezer Butler. We got a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about tonight, so I'm glad you jumped in. Before we get too far, I'm going to pick Jeff right up, but I do want to send out our heartfelt condolences to the families of everybody who lost their lives today at the attack in Kabul, and the needless, senseless violence that our president has forced upon this country and its troops and its citizens is reckless. And if this was a different president, he would be screamed about and probably be threatened with impeachment. And I'm not going to make the show about that tonight, but I do want to send out our heartfelt condolences to all those families who lost somebody. And I want to say we give you our best, and we wish you well, and those who are injured as well. So again, that's just a little something. We're going to get to Dave's thing a little later on. We'll talk a little Yankees again. Yankees great playing great baseball. Have a little bit of a conundrum right now, the Yankees guys. Players coming back. Do you mix in the new players? What's working is what's going right now is working. That's a tough move for the Yankees. We'll get to a little bit of that. The Mets stink. I was fed up with what I saw last night. We'll talk about the Jets, the Giants, lots of football. Everybody's kind of pumped up about football. Lots to get to, but let's get Jeff on, and let's get the show started. Guys, welcome to Hard Rock and Sports. And remember, probably Monday night, you can catch us on Sports Wire. We played last week on a Monday, I think Monday or Tuesday night. So thanks to Tom Bryce and everybody over at Sports Wire. Spornitarium.com/player exclamation point. I'll give you some more information on that. You can get some repeats over there. And remember, Jeff and I and our good friend John Marhefka will be on Sundays on Sports Wire doing a little football show. We'll get more to that later. So again, let's bring on the backbone of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, my dear friend and the sexiest guy in on his side of the screen, Mr. Jeff Talwinski. What's up, Hefe?
What's going on, man?
Jeff, tough week. Let's start it off like we always do. And let's say, Jeff, how was your week?
Well, not exactly the best of weeks, but, we started off with the storm and a couple extra hours overtime this week. That'll be nice when the money comes. But then the week kind of went south. Charlie Watts died. And like you, not the biggest Stones fan, but, when music legends start to die, you have to acknowledge it and realize that there's nobody backfilling. There is no next Charlie Watts right now. I don't give a shit what anybody says. It's just not there.
Well, Jeff, it's like, it's not like sports where you have the next group of Yankees coming in. Derek Jeter's Mr. Yankee for 20 years, and now it's Aaron Judge. It's not the same in music right now. And, it sucks.
Thank you, Raul.
Jeff, I just want to say a big thank you to you and your wife. We had a really nice time at your barbecue. She's a great cook, made a lot of food, and unfortunately for the weather, which I wound up losing power for about 12 or 13 hours. So getting off the dogs was important, but we had a great time. We love seeing everybody, and you guys do an amazing job with that. So thank you for having us over, and I look forward to the next one.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming and hanging out. A lot of childhood friends there, and it is what it is. It's always nice to, my brother, you, Paul, it was so nice to have everybody there. We ate a lot of leftovers.
No, did you really?
The days following up, yes, we did.
I'll tell you what, I can only imagine, because we ate. And
hold on, Raul. I was actually going to ask Raul to come and play and serenade us a little bit.
He retired.
I understand that, but he's going to be back soon. I got a feeling.
Okay.
I have not spoken to Raul since the last show, but I know he's a man. He's not going to stay down long. I don't care what he says. He'll be back one day soon. But I was going to ask him to come and play, but then with the impending weather, September 12th, retirement's over. With the impending storm, I was just like, I can't, if you ask these guys to come over. But next time, I promise, Raul, we'll have some live bands. And, a live band, there's no room for bands.
Yep.
So we could definitely have you. Tommy could attest to that.
Yes. Listen, yard was a little tight, but was very comfortable. And if it wasn't for the weather, we would have been sitting out on the patio and having a good time and having a lot of fun, and again, getting to catch up with a lot of good friends. So lots to talk about, lots to get to tonight. Again, we'll get to the Dave Week stuff probably about 8 o'clock. We have Steve Barber calling in about that. His daughter will be checking in, and then Mario Ortiz will be checking in also about 8:30. We played a little video. We played up some music to start the show.
Very sad about Dave, man. It just
you know what, Jeff?
Only unexpected, man.
I don't know. Do you want to say a little something now? Do you want to hold it till you were ready to start? About 5 days.
I'll just say this much. I don't want to say too much until the guests get here. But Dave is somebody that I met. I knew of Dave before I actually met Dave, because he was working in Manhattan, and somebody else kept telling me stories about him. I think the guy had a man crush on Dave, because every story evolved around Dave. So by the time Dave actually got there to Staten Island, I had already known a lot about Dave, and Dave had no idea who I was.
Right.
So I knew that Dave played in a band or played guitar. So we started to talk about stuff like that a lot. And, we had common ground with one another in the music scene, and just like we all do on Staten Island, and it was always cool. He would come by and visit me at work sometimes, and we talk a little bit, and he'd tell me what was going on with his band, and just a great guy. that was the sad part. I mean, it's always sad when somebody ends up dying, but when it seems as though everybody is going to love Dave, did love Dave, and is going to miss Dave, and you feel bad for his family, and just a really nice guy. And that's why I felt as though that the show was coming up, and we just like to acknowledge him a little bit tonight. And just he was on his way to work, and whatever happened.
Yeah,
So,
listen, Staten Island's a small place, and everybody's got a connection to everybody. And you know the names, even if you don't know the faces. And I said it before. I said it in one of the posts, and I'll say it again. We all have to look out for each other. We're from Staten Island. There is a history there. No matter how you look at it, you tie back to somebody. And we also should pay tribute and celebrate their lives and not let them be forgotten without some kind words. And using the show is appropriate for us. And everybody was invited. Everybody had the opportunity to say they wanted to come on. And again, I'll say this: I want to keep the negativity off this show.
the negativity for tonight will definitely be kept off.
Correct. It's not our business, and frankly, Jeff, I really don't care about the inner workings of other bands, and that's between those guys. As long as it doesn't bring it to our doorstep here on the Hard Rock and Sports Show, do what you have to do. But tonight is not about feuds or people not getting along. Tonight's about Dave Weeks, and hopefully we'll have a few people on to say some nice words, tell some stories. We play a little music, and we do our best to celebrate Dave's life and let his family know that he was well respected. And
without a doubt, you have to do the right thing.
Yes,
that's all there is to that. And then with Charlie Watts,
yeah.
Let me ask you something. I mean, I would have loved to have Raphael on with this one, and got to ask, like, have the odds on Keith Richards changed?
Wow.
Keith, one in front of you, step forward up beyond the line, and your number's coming up, bro.
Well, it finally the bolt of lightning finally hit close. It just was a little bit to the right, So
yeah, he's gonna outlive the planet. Yeah, I hear you, Raul.
Yeah, but yeah, listen. I'll start off by saying I'm not a Rolling Stone fan. You do understand the impact and the career of the band and the individual people. I would say for me though, Charlie Watt was probably the least known of the Stones for me. He's probably a very quiet guy. The guy seemed to have have some issues in his life. Very creative guy, and seemed to be the kind of the quiet guy in the corner in the Rolling Stones.
There was a couple people posted this meme that I thought was absolutely great about Charlie Watts, and they said that Mick Jagger called his hotel room in the middle of the night.
What a story! Go ahead, tell me.
Yeah, they were fucking drinking down there and everything and having a good time, and he says, "Where's my drummer?" So he must have told him, "I'll be right there," or whatever. He hung the phone up, took a shower, shaved, put on a suit and a tie, marched downstairs to the bar in the hotel, punched Mick Jagger in the face, and said, "Don't ever call me your drummer again. You're my singer." And turned around, went back upstairs. Now, at first, I thought it was a meme.
Yes.
But it turns out it's a real story.
Yes.
Because it's in Keith Richards' book.
Yes.
And I'm like, holy shit. Could you imagine this motherfucker getting up in the middle of the night, taking a shower, shaving? I shave 3 times a month if I'm lucky.
Funny. Yeah. Listen, you never know. We don't know the inner workings of the bands, and there's a lot of off time. Once they're out on stage, and especially bands like that. But when you read stories like that, you crack up. But you realize these guys, they're around each other months at a time, hours and hours a day. And I'm sure there's a lot of time that they want to just, again, punch each other in the face. So,
dude, I would almost guarantee you that these guys probably want to kill one another more often than even like to look at one another.
I would agree.
And how many times maybe Charlie Watts was just like, "Oh, this fucking Mick Jagger, what a fucking jerk off." Oh my God. And Keith Richards saying, you just don't know. Like you said, it must be great to be inside their heads for a couple minutes.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Again, I want to do this, Jeff. We got 40 minutes before we kind of start paying tribute to Dave. Okay, that's I guess Steve Barr will be calling about 8. And then his daughter's in there somewhere, and then
Well, the daughter and Mario were supposed to be at the same location.
okay, so they're gonna so either way, so what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to get some sports in, and then in between them we'll do a little music, and then after Mario and Dave's daughter, we'll try to finish up with whatever sports we have left, or music we have left. So I want to bang in about 40 minutes of some Yankees, Mets, and a little bit of Giants and Jets with you. How's that?
Okay.
We're going to get to a little later on. I definitely want to talk about later on some of the quarterbacks situations seem to be clarifying a little bit. I'd like to, Jeff, I need you to do me a favor when you get a chance. I need you to Google something for me.
What's up?
Okay. You know the thing, like, where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Where's Deshaun Watson at this point?
Oh, yeah, I hear you, man.
I hear he's in camp avoiding fines. I got to ask the question real fast. I don't want to belabor because we've talked about this before. But are they going to suspend him? Is he going to be allowed to play? Is he just on the roster? It looks like Tyrod Taylor's a starting quarterback. Jeff, where's Deshaun Watson, and what's his role for what team this year?
Well, he certainly ain't going anyplace anytime soon, although I have read some stories here and there that, once they try to trade him, he's going to go.
Yeah.
Somebody is definitely going to take him, which I can't understand, because how much are the Texans going to be willing to hold out to get?
Correct.
And how much is another team willing to give?
Price? What's the price?
You don't know what his punishment may be.
Exactly right.
You give a number 1 pick for next year and the year after in hopes that he only gets suspended the rest of this season.
But is he going to get suspended this season? I mean, I
don't know.
He's not on the commissioner's list. I think it's an interesting topic. We're going to get to all the quarterbacks. I want to talk about the Saints, the Broncos. I see Frankie. Frankie. Are you happy with Teddy Bridgewater getting the job over in the Broncos? I didn't think that. I didn't find that very surprising, Jeff. Were you surprised that Bridgewater
got that job? That he's the quarterback.
He's a starting quarterback. They've already announced that he's going to open up.
I don't know, man, because let me ask you this: he was against Drew Lock.
Yeah,
if he was that much better, why did it take so long to win the job?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was.
You know what I mean? It kind of leads me to be a little worried that did they take the lesser of two evils, not the better of two quarterbacks?
Well, I think that's a good point. I think the end result of that is I think they wanted Locke to win the job, and he just didn't do enough to do it. So they reluctantly, in my opinion, I'm not in their war rooms. I'm not in the coach's office. I think reluctantly they said, okay, we're going to go with Teddy Bridgewater and leave Drew Lock, which I think is an indictment, obviously, to me, of Drew Lock. So
yeah, I got to agree with you, of course.
Yeah, so we'll get to all the quarterback situations again, probably after 8:30. But right now, I want to just go over a little bit over to the Mets. Pathetic. I watched a lot of their games this week. Last night irritated me. Here's what irritated me last night about the Mets. Okay, so 7th inning of the game, pitches. Taijuan Walker's pitching really well. He's given up one real hit, gets to the 7th, and he gives up, and I guess it was an E5 that got the first runner on. McNeil botched the pop-up, first and second, nobody out, 74 pitches, and they went out and they took him out of the game. Made no sense. Made no sense at all. So it's analytics. Oh, well, third time through the lineup, we got to take him out. Jeff, sometimes, you can't go by what's on a piece of paper. You got to watch what's happening on the field. And the guy had given up legitimately one legitimate hit the entire night. The game of baseball has become computer. It's like a computer game.
Well, you listen, I don't know much about the analytics because I just can't bring myself to watch baseball. I don't. But you don't know if maybe this guy was complaining about some injury and they wanted to see,
He said after the game he was basically pissed off he was taken out of the game.
Well, you don't know. Maybe he was said to say that. You don't know with these guys.
I guess.
unless you are able to see both sides, you can only assume what you're told
Mhm.
or assume what you see. You know, a lot of these guys want to stay in. The Mets, if I'm right, what are they like 6.5, 7.5 out by now?
I think they're 6.5 out in not only the division but the wild cards and playing. Listen, they can't hit a fastball. They can't come up with a big hit in a big spot. They have looked just weak. I think they're 2-11, 2-10 on this road on the road trips. They're playing all the West Coast teams. They played the Dodgers at home, went on the road, played the Dodgers and the Giants on the road, then came back to play the Giants, and basically they won 2 of 10 games against probably, I would say, that 2 of the top 3 teams in baseball, if not the top 2 teams in baseball. So
it doesn't look good for them, even if they happen to make the postseason. It's not looking very good for them.
No, I listen. They got a lot of DeGrom's out, and they're talking about ramping him up and maybe getting him back on the field this year. You know, listen, DeGrom's out. Says his arm hurts. There's nothing on the MRIs. I think he's had 7 MRIs. He's had every test known to man. They can't figure it out. Here's the problem. The guy's not the biggest guy in the world. He throws 100 miles an hour more often than anybody else. He's putting a strain on his arm, and unless they figure out a way to not put that strain on his arm, the guy's never going to pitch a full season. So, I don't know. I don't know what they do with this, but I'll tell you what really irked me. And Patrick, I don't know if you watched the game last night, but to get to the 9th inning, they should have been out of it. The Giants make 2 bad plays, okay? And the Jets wind up loading the bases. Lindor comes up, bases loaded as a pinch hitter. Now, first thing that bothered me was the guy's been out for a month, plays the night before, then they give him the next day off. The guy's been out for a month. He's 20-something years old. He could play 2 nights in a row. What are we doing? Okay, forget about it. So he doesn't play. Pitch hits.
Play more than 2 nights in a row, dude.
Yeah, pitch hits, swings at the very first pitch, pops up, runs to first, and he's coming off the field. He's got a big smile on his face. Are we kidding ourselves? Is this guy kidding? It annoyed the piss out of me. They get to bases loaded, and I got to tell you, the Nimmo thing, guys, Nimmo's a good player. He's not a great player, and I love a guy who hustles. But, Jeff, you got a guy, he walks, and he's sprinting to first base. You want to sprint on a ground ball, I'm in for. When you walk, run to first. Take the sprinting thing out. You're annoying me now. But past that, then Alonso comes up and hits a weak pop-up to second base. Not even barely a line drive to second base. Game's over. Mets are inept. I'd be surprised if Rojas finishes the year. Okay, they have no life. They can't hit. They can't hit a fastball. The Mets are putrid. And I think it's time they have to blow up this team, and they're going to have to take a real hard look at this pitching staff. Are we really going to build around DeGrom, Syndergaard? Syndergaard hasn't stayed on the field forever. This team needs to be blown up, and you want to build it around Alonso and DeGrom and some of the younger guys. Oh, okay, but Davis has got to go. You're gonna have Cano stuck there sometime next year at second base. You're gonna keep Javi Baez to play second or third. This team needs to be fixed. So bad job by the Mets for the last week. They put themselves in a position now where it's going to get to the point where they're going to play meaningless games in September. But let's see how they rebound tonight and this weekend. The Yankees, Jeff, I know you're not paying attention, but the Yankees are on fire.
Well, that I know. I know the Yankees are doing a lot better. I mean, I don't watch them, but I get a glimpse in the standings once in a while, and 11 I know they've turned it on.
Yep, 11 in a row. Now here's the problem for the Yankees, and it's a good problem. So they've been without some of their bigger players. Gleyber Torres has been out for a little while now. Sellers has been out for a while. Kluber's been out. Domingo Germán, the last 2 guys are pitchers. So they've got a bunch of guys out, and they're starting to trickle back in. Yes, Patrick, absolutely. He will. I know it's too late to be done now, and you're probably right. But again, if you have a on your staff that you want to give a shot to, you may want to think about it. Or although, if I were the Mets, I would be bringing in Buck Showalter. You have to bring Buck Showalter in with a young guy as a bench coach who's going to be the heir apparent. That's how I would fix the Mets. But that's a different story. So the Yankees, Jeff. And again, guys, Hard Rocket Sports, 347-826-9934. Jeff and Tom talking sports, talking music, and paying tribute to not only Charlie Watts, but Staten Island's own Dave Weeks. We'll get to that about 8 o'clock. We're glad you guys are checking in. We're also on the Sports Wire Radio Network. I think it's going to be every Monday night. So Jeff and I, you can hear us all doing this show. This show will be rebroadcast at least once or twice a week. And of course, Jeff, myself, and our good friend John Marhefka will be coming to you every Sunday morning talking football and enjoying that starting the first week of the season. But Jeff, so the Yankees have a problem is they're getting all these guys back, but the guys that they brought up, this kid Velasquez, and guys like Abreu and Guy and Heel and all these other young kids who have shown themselves and interjected a lot of energy, maybe losing their spot. And I say to myself, if you're the Yankees, do you ruin the chemistry? You're 11-0. You're probably playing the best baseball, the best in all of baseball right now. I got to tell you the truth. It's a hard look for the Yankees to go back to what might not have been working as good as it was right now. It's a tough call.
Listen, I mean, you got to go for it while you get the chance.
Yeah.
We're heading next week at this time is after September 1st.
Yep.
We'll be into September. So you get into the last month of the season. They don't have a playoff spot secured yet, do they, the Yankees?
No, nobody is. They're 4 games out of first place.
Well,
and about 2.5 games in the wild card game. They're up.
So they have a wild card position right now.
Yeah, it's not secured, but they are right now in the wild card seat. Yes.
Okay. I should have clarified my question.
Yes.
That's what I asked what I meant when I asked if they had a shot, a wild card spot or a playoff spot secure. Are they in the running for one right now? So I mean, at least they got that going for them. Mm-hmm. But by the way, Anthony Carey, how you doing, man? It would be nice to see them, get into the playoffs and make some noise.
Yep.
Every year they get into the playoffs and it's the same thing. Well, I don't know if they got the pitching. I don't know if they're going to win every 10-11 game. I mean, 11-10, 10-9, 10-7 game, or stuff like that. They're going to win every one of those, but they're not going to be able to win a 2-1, 3-2 baseball game because they just can't. They don't have the pitching. They have the hitting to kill everybody, but they don't have the pitching to keep them remotely close. So, you die by the sword, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, so to speak. You can't, think you're going to club everybody to death and just blow through. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I would say during this streak of 11 in a row, and they go for 12 tonight against the A's later on. I'll get to watch a little bit of that before I go to bed. But they are getting some good pitching from, guys like, Cole's been better. Jameson Taillon has been great in the second half of the season. Montgomery's been good since he's been back from the DL. And probably was good, okay, before that. So I tell you what, the Yankee pitching staff's been okay. The bullpen's been a little shaky. Britton's out now. Chapman's a disaster. And Boone did a great job the other night. 2 outs in the 9th, and he couldn't find the plate. They pulled him out, and he brought Peralta in to shut the door, and it was a nice job. A lot of guys would have left the closer in there and lived and died with them. I thought Boone did a nice job. And Patrick, your comment, I'll say this. A lot of people wanted Boone fired. And I said, I didn't care because I think they needed a change, but I didn't think it was going to make a big deal because here's why. Boone is just signing the card, the lineup card. The Yankees are winning and losing because the players play well or they play bad. They don't do a lot of bunting. They don't do a lot of hit and runs. They don't do a lot of stealing bases. Although this last couple weeks, I've seen a lot of stolen bases and a few bunts. So I don't give him a lot of the credit for the bad, and I'm not giving him a lot of credit for the good. I just think the players have turned it on, and you got a lot of influx of youth and energy with Velasquez. I think Odor's did a nice job. I loved what Rizzo's done, and I know most people are knocking Gallo, but I like Gallo the way he plays. Stanton's been great in the outfield. So listen, this is a tough team. They got a tough, some tough situations to figure out how to get these guys back in the lineup and not lose the mojo. But I'm looking forward to some great Yankee baseball. The true test, Jeff said it right. Jeff, once again, you are on the money. The Yankees of the last 5 or 6 years, they played great during the regular season. This year's turned in the second half, but it's the October failures which have hurt this Yankee team.
Oh, look, she got a haircut.
Sharon. So I think that's the biggest thing. The real test for these Yankees is in October. It isn't today. Every year they make the playoffs, so
they're going to make the playoffs one way or another, and they do for the most part. I can't remember the last year that they didn't make the playoffs, but I also can't remember the last year that they were making a run at the World Series either.
Well, 2017, they were within one game of going to the World Series. They lost. That was when all this banging on the drum by the Astros and this and that. That was as close to get. But again, could not
4
win.
years ago. 4 years ago.
Yeah, and again, I thought they were a better team. They turned it on in September. I thought they played great baseball. But again, it's been the same failure. They get into October and they cannot find a big hit. They can't get a big out, especially from their closer. So these Yankees have to change the script. And when it comes to this October, keep playing this kind of baseball. But they have to turn it on and turn it up. And Patrick, listen, you're 100% right. The Yankees will probably make the playoffs, and the Mets won't. The question for me, Patrick, and you're a Met fan, if you're the Mets and you're 8 games out, do you get the ground back on the field? Do you put him out there to see if he's got anything? Do you sit him on the bench and say let's try for next year? And you got to figure out why he's having problems, but they can't find anything on the MRIs. It's got to happen.
That's got to be a scary situation. Oh, you're getting all these MRIs done and they're not finding anything.
Yeah, nothing at all.
It's got to make you think like what is going on in there. The Mets can't spell October.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for the Mets. If you're a Met fan, you started out this year with a lot of high hopes.
First let's break down the Mets season real quick.
Sure.
I mean, God help me if Carmine is listening to the show, but every year
he's on the islands, I think, somewhere.
Oh, okay, so he probably can't get his reception anyway.
Yeah,
but every year the Mets seem to be in first place and winning the World Series by April 10th.
Yeah,
they're like 6-1 or whatever it is, and like, wow, this is a dominant team. If they just play this way the whole way, they'll go 161-1. They're going to win everything, and then the wheels fall off by the time way before Memorial Day. By the time May 1st comes, it's like, oh my God, this team sucks and this, that, and the other thing. So they're notorious for coming out of the gate quick and then like instantly extinguishing themselves. I don't understand that.
Yeah, again, this year it was a little bit longer, and it was a little bit. If you're a Met fan, you were fooled, and here's why you were fooled: because the division was bad in the first half of the season. The Mets weren't good; they were just in the worst division in baseball, and they were beating up on really bad teams, and they were able to survive. And now that the Braves have started playing real well, and the Phillies have played better, the Mets haven't, and they ran into the Yankees and. They ran into, again, this West Coast strip. They started out, Jeff, a week and a half ago. They were 2.5 games in first place, and now they're 6.5 games out.
I know. They're going down fast.
So yeah, it was a mirage. That's the best way to say it. The Mets look like the Mets were in first place, but they were a third place, first place team because the rest of their division was bad. And now the rest of the division is playing well. The Mets have dropped. So, listen, I don't think Luis Rojas is a bad manager. I just don't think he's a good manager. I think he's too quick to pull guys and not let the game dictate it a little bit. And here's the indictment, Jeff. You got a bunch of major league players who can't hit a fastball. They just cannot hit a fastball. And they've had taken bad seasons or not good seasons from Davis and McNeil and Dominic Smith. McCann's been good behind the plate, but he can't hit.
Isn't he old, that guy McCann?
No, I think McCann's in the late 20s. Maybe he's 30.
I thought he was older.
There was another McCann you're thinking about. There was a catcher played for the Yankees.
Yeah.
This is
I know there was one. Yeah.
Yeah, is a different guy. So again, the Mets. The big question for the Mets and their ownership is, what do you do at the end of the season? Do you blow this up, or do you patch it again? Come back and make one big signing, or what are you going to do? Cano's back next year. What do you do with Cano next year? You're going to keep Baez. You're going to go get. The Mets have a lot of questions. I personally would blow it up. Start from scratch. Get some new players.
Well, do they have anybody that's going to be able to put it together from scratch? Though,
well, again,
you got to think of that too.
Yeah, and again, if I were the Mets, I'd go out and sign Theo Epstein, give him whatever he wants, and hire Buck Showalter with the manager in waiting, and that's how I would start this team. Buck Showalter is a great manager.
How old is Buck Showalter?
Buck Showalter's got to be in his mid-60s, 63, 64.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, he's not older than that. He's not much older than that. I would say I would have to look it up, but 63, 64, I would bet.
I thought it was older than that.
But to me, if I'm Bucks, if I'm the Mets, I give Theo Epstein, the guy turned around the Red Sox, turned around and won a World Series with the Cubs, and then I would go out there and bring Showalter in. See, Showalter's great for 3 years, and then he annoys everybody, and then you got to get rid of him. He's kind of like the Bill Parcells of baseball. He'll do a great job. He'll change the culture, bring in good players, teach him a winning game of baseball, and then he'll irritate everybody, and he's got to go. So that if Steve Cohen's listening, or if anybody knows Steve Cohen, tell him I said throw a fortune at Theo Epstein, get Showalter with a young guy who's going to be the future manager on his staff, and then turn those two guys loose. And I guarantee you, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, the Mets will be October darlings.
You know what? Enough of these Mets. We've been talking about these Mets for far too long. They suck. They suck. They've sucked for years. Every year, this is going to be their year. This is going to be their year. And they fucking fell. I have other complaints.
You have other complaints?
I have other complaints.
You have complaints?
Yes. Yes, I have several different complaints that I want to air right here, right now on the Pinky Mac and the Czar Show.
Go ahead.
Okay, one. Barkley.
Oh my God! Here we go.
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
What is the story with this guy? Is he in? Is he out? What?
Oh, if you saw today's clips, he was running routes. He's catching passes. He looked great. Now, is he ready for? Is he playing Sunday? No, he will not. He will not step on the field this Sunday. He's not. I don't believe he's gotten involved in any sort of the 11-on-11 stuff at these joint practices with the Patriots. And I'm going to talk to you about the joint practices when I get a second. But do I think he's going to be ready for opening day? I do. I don't think he's going to be 20 carries, but I think he's going to be ready. And he looks great. I mean, Jeff, until he steps on the field and he's being chased by a guy who weighs about 275 pounds, you're never going to know.
Well, I think the best thing for them to do is to put Barkley on the IR.
There we go.
All right. Put Barkley on the IR. Put Daniel Jones on the waiver wire. Okay. And just shut this whole team down, please, before they do it themselves and embarrass themselves. I can't even talk about them. You're going
to have to, because I'm now I'm going to talk about the Giants. And here's what I love about the Giants.
Not much.
Okay. So first off, I've been very leery and almost second guessing my man Joe Judge on not playing Daniel Jones or any of the starters for that matter in the preseason. So after the first 2 games,
and this is their last preseason game coming up,
correct?
Right?
Yeah, they played yes.
And they haven't played anything?
Nah, I mean, I think Shepard might have played a couple of plays. But yeah, none of the offensive line is. I think the offensive line played about 12 plays, and what they did was they played him with Glennon because they want to give Glennon the chance to play in case Goffin Bay's got to get out there. So they want to give Glennon as much work as they can. So I thought it was a good spot. So, but no, none of the starters have played any real significant time at all, offense or defense. So
it's a double-edged sword.
Well, it is
this year. You're getting the extra game. I don't think anybody really knows how to run their offense, their team this year. With COVID coming up and dealing with that, one less preseason game, one more regular season game. You don't know what to do, and I think that a lot of the teams have made the choice and said that they're pretty much going to sacrifice a regular season game or 2 and hope that their team could make up the difference, regardless of who it is.
I think to a certain extent, you're right, Jeff. I think what I've seen, and I understand a little better, the joint practices, because what happens is they're getting the hitting in the joint practices, but it's controlled. And especially for the quarterbacks are not targets. So the guys can come up and knock the ball out of their hands or tag them. But so you're getting the actual work in. The offensive lines are getting their work. The defensive lines are getting their work, and you're doing it in a controlled environment. So I've changed my focus on my thought process on it, and I like the joint practice thing. And we should see the offensive starters or the starters for the Giants this Sunday.
And look at what happened with the Jets having
Yeah.
a joint practice. Can't talk today.
Yeah.
They lost how many different guys this week? 2 or 3 guys.
Well,
That
look,
was starters?
Vinny Curry, you lost, but he went out to a blood disorder.
Yeah, this is true.
Carl Lawson, you lost yet to an Achilles injury in one of the joint practices.
The linebacker they lost.
Yes, and they lost the other linebacker, which again could have happened in a preseason game, could have happened in a practice, could have happened getting out of his
But
locker.
it did happen
Right.
at a preseason game. It
That's
did
right.
happen at a joint practice preseason.
Okay.
So, that has to be, and you're 100% right. I agree with you. You just don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to, get hurt going to brush their teeth and stub their toe and,
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be hampered for the rest of the season. You don't know.
Yeah.
But we do know this much. They went to a joint practice and they lost a couple guys.
Correct.
And a couple of them were going to be key contributors to the defense.
Carl Lawson's a big loss for the Jets. I have to be honest with
Yes,
you.
he is.
That's a
Yes,
huge
he is.
loss.
But you know what? That's
Arizona
also the
was-
Jets. That's also the Jets' problem too. They signed one solid defensive player in the offseason.
Yeah.
Why not go after a second? Why didn't you go after better defensive backs?
Yes.
They didn't. They only do so much. I understand there's a lot of holes on this team. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
And then you're talking about another top 10 draft pick. No matter what, they got a top 10 draft pick
Well,
this year coming up.
I'll finish your thought, but remind me because I heard something on WFEN the other day. One of the hosts were picking the Jets to win 10 games this year.
No. So,
Well, now here's my thing on the Jets. While I've heard nothing but praises for your young quarterback, everybody says he's looked great, especially moving with the football in his hand.
I remember hearing this about somebody else too.
No, I get it. And again, yeah, listen, you always got to temper it when it's the Jets. But the one knock that they've had this last couple of weeks is the offensive line has looked terrible against the other team's offensive for number one defensive lines,
Including Becton.
Yeah, and just going to bring it up, Jeff, great point. Becton has gotten ripped not only by the newspaper people, but his offensive coordinator has questioned him twice in the newspaper. So, while I'm certainly not going to sit here and say Becton's a wasted draft pick, I'm just saying it seems like there's something there with Mekhi Becton that's not translated so far to a step forward in year 2.
Yeah, something's going on. But I from day one I said it. You're talking about a guy they drafted that was near 370 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now all of a sudden you're going to worry about his weight. It isn't like they said to this guy, "Listen, by the time February comes, we want you to lose. From the end of the season, if we're done after week 17, we want you to lose by February 1st. You got to lose 20 pounds.
Right.
That we're sending you home 20, 30 pounds lighter than you were last year at this time.
Right.
So that if you put on 30 pounds and we had you lose 20, then you're only up 10 from your playing weight.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody like that, I mean, come on, dude. You don't weigh almost 400 pounds because of genetics. You weigh that much because you eat. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
And
and listen, he seems to have some sort of conditioning issues or a motivation issue. I'm not sure. They just got Elijah Vera Tucker back, but the offensive line has been the one negative so far that I've heard out of camp. The reports have been that the rookie Moore, the receiver's had a great camp. Corey Davis has had a decent camp, and Zach Wilson's exceeded expectations so far. But listen, you're right.
Yeah, but like you like to say, exceeded expectations in what?
Yeah.
Not getting hit, not getting touched.
Listen, playing the other team's second string. Listen, I'm with you. Listen. All I can say is this: you don't know, and that's always the case. Listen, the Jets have an interesting game. Number one, okay, Carolina Panthers, Sam Darnold. So, are you confident that the Jets are better than Sam Darnold and the Panthers, I think it's an interesting game. I think you'll learn a lot about the Jets. Again, it's game 1 of 17. It ain't the season. Win or lose, there's 16 more to play. But I think it's an interesting game for the Jets. It's a game they should be at least competitive in.
Of course, it is. But you want to know something? Yeah, you're gonna be second guessing yourself somewhat with this game because the quarterback you gave up is going to be facing the quarterback you used to replace him. That's one thing.
That's
okay. Second of all, from what I've read about Donald, it's not exactly like he's lighting it up down there.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
So that does make the Jets look a little bit better that they, maybe got rid of a potential headache. As in, like he wasn't going to do dick on that team anyway.
You were 100% right. You couldn't keep Sam Darnold and then draft another quarterback. It would never have worked. A veteran guy who had some success, a Ryan Fitzpatrick or one of those kind of guys, you could have did it. But you're right. You could never have kept Sam Darnold and drafted Zach Wilson and gone into camp like that.
No, because one, they're too close in age, way too close in age, and there's always going to be the thought that. What happens if one falters?
Right.
So no, you can't have both.
No, I agree. So I mean, listen, we're going to get a lot more into the Jets in the next couple of weeks. Of course, the September 9th show, which is the opening day of the NFL, Cowboys and the Buccaneers. That'll be our show. We'll do all football for 90% of it. We'll go through the league. We'll make some picks, and we'll break down the Jets and Giants season. We'll go through their schedules together. And we'll come up with what we think the season is going to look like for the Jets and for the Giants. Again, for the Jets, listen, new coaching staff, new quarterback, but a lot of the same problems, Jeff. Offensive line issues. Again, still, the Giants have 12 different defensive backs who could play in this league, it looks like, and the Jets can't put 2 on the field. I'm telling you. But the Giants, listen, I'll tell you the first thing. The Giants have their issues. Is their offensive line up to game speed yet? Is there other than Blake Martinez, do they have another linebacker? Can they edge rush? There's a lot. Daniel Jones has got to step up in year 3. Got to happen. Got to have a better season.
See this right here.
Daniel Jones has to be a 3,800, 26, 15 interception quarterback this year. Otherwise, it's almost a failure. Even if they win, because they're gonna have a good defense, and that division sucks, and it's gonna continue to suck. So, but the Giants have their issues, the Jets have their issues. But September 12th, it all starts for real. This Sunday, the Giants come home. New England comes down. They play one good game, and the Giants starters should play. So we'll get a little bit of a dress rehearsal for the season. But
it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
I know.
I see that you're not really wearing your Giant colors. Your head is blocking it. Your head is blocking it.
Listen, I bleed the blue, baby. I bleed the blue because that's my squad. That's my squad. We are. There's no doubt. I am excited. Listen, do I think that we're going to take advantage of a weak division? Yeah, I think the Eagles suck. I think the Redskins are going to suck because they got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Dak Prescott's got a half a wing.
Oh, stop, please. Please.
So,
please.
I'm not.
Are you supposed to be the expert here? What is the?
You're the expert. You're the expert. I'm not.
I never claimed to be an expert.
You
never claimed to be an expert.
You never claimed to be the expert.
No.
Do I have to break out the text messages where you claim to be the expert?
No, I just claim that the Giants are going to suck. I never say that they're great and everything else. Never say that.
I don't think Giants are going to be great. I think Giants are going to be a good football team this year. I still think they're a year or two away, but I think if Barkley stays healthy and Jones progresses and the offensive line is as good as I think they're going to be, this team will win 9 or 10 games this year, and that's enough to win that division.
10 games.
I think the Giants can win 9 or 10 games this year.
Oh my God!
I'm telling you, I think the
Giants.
Right.
I'm going to give you a quick.
Division's bad. They'll get 6 wins in their own division.
I'm going to tell you quick what's going to happen to the Giants.
You going to make it quick? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. You ready? This is what I see happening to the Giants.
Enlighten me, please.
Okay. First game, they're going to win the kickoff. They're going to elect to receive. Okay. Daniel Jones, they're gonna take the ball. They're gonna run the ball out when they should have downed it. They're gonna get the ball out to the 4-yard line. Runner's gonna get fucking killed at the 4-yard line. Daniel Jones and the team come out. They start on their own 4. Okay. Daniel Jones moves the team rather well, surprisingly, gets the Giants to their own 40-yard line, hands the ball to Saquon Barkley. He goes to do a spin move. He gets fucking pummeled. His knee spins around. You actually see his knees spin around inside his leg, and his career is done. Gives up the ball. Okay. The next offensive series. Okay. Walking up to the line of scrimmage after the huddle. Daniel Jones fumbles the ball and they didn't even give it to him yet. He kicks it over by accident. Okay. And 3 times as he marches his team 7 yards on his first 3 downs, he fumbles every time. He also recovers, though. I'll give him that. He recovers. Okay. And then Gettleman just doesn't know what to do when he puts out the wrong players. And next thing you know, they look by halftime, they're down by 35. That's my prediction for the Giants first game.
Hold on.
What do you think of that? As the half man snores.
As you put our audience to sleep with your ridiculous take on the Giants.
Put your audience to sleep.
You put our audience to sleep.
Put the audience to sleep. Let me ask you something.
With your ridiculous comments, yes.
Audience, what are the numbers coming out of Israel?
Oh, I didn't check today. Would you like me to check the numbers in Israel?
Yes. We need to find out what the numbers from Israel are.
See, can I do that while we're on the air? Is the question, Jeff?
Hold on.
Let's see if I can do that while we're on the air. We were a little lower last week than we had been, but not too much. No, we're back up to 7.72% of our audience is out of Israel, Canada, France, and Ukraine coming in right after that. But 7.72% of the Hard Rock and Sports audience is still in. We're still hovering in the 7.7, 7.8 area.
So we're under 8%, but still, nonetheless, 8% of our audience is coming out of Israel.
That's correct.
Wow, that's amazing.
Even with all the stuff going on. Again, remember, guys, Hard Rock and Sports, Jeff and Tom. You were here every Thursday night, 6:30 to 9:30. Again, starting last week or starting this past week, we're going to be featured on the Sports Wire radio, which I thank Tom Bryce for. Will be replayed a couple times a week, and stay tuned for more information on where you can find us and what days of the weeks and hours. But thanks to Tom for having us on. Of course, we're here every Thursday night. Next Thursday night, Kazim Sultan joins Jeff and I, coming back to have a little fun talking about his solo stuff. So now,
is he coming in on video or phone?
Yes, he'll be coming in on video.
Nice, very nice, very cool.
We'll have Kazim next Thursday night with us. The following Thursday will be our NFL show. And then that Sunday, it'll be the first week of the not named Hard Rock and Sports Sunday football show. That Jeff and I did a little bit of last year, but I didn't feel like I had the interest in it. So we'll do a little of that, and we'll be joined each week by our good friend John Marhefka, who, by the way, they're celebrating their 5-year anniversary of the big live stream concert this Saturday. So make sure you check out the RFL website for more information where you can find that. So congratulations to John and everybody at RFL Records for 5 great years. And we're looking forward to at least 5 more. And congratulations to our dear friend John Marhefka. So, Jeff, we should be getting into. I want to play the video for the second video I have for the JWB band featuring Dave Weeks. And then hopefully we'll have our first caller, which should be Steve Barber. If not, we'll do a little more music and sports if Steve's here. If not, we'll fill it in. But I think we'll start the tribute, right? Unless you want to hold it until Steve shows up. Do you want to hold it?
No, go ahead. Play what you're going to play.
All right, so let's play a little something from the JWB band. We're going to play Moonlight. This is, again, in tribute to Staten Island's own David Weeks, who passed away. Jeff will be handling once Steve shows up, it's Jeff's gig. I'll just be filling in and working the controls. Again, if you guys are out there and you want to call in, excuse me, 347-826-993 and 4 is the number. If you do want to come on in a video chat, the private message, either Jeff or myself, will send you the link and you can pop up and you can absolutely have a few minutes to talk about Dave. But let's start it off, like we said, 8 o'clock, a little tribute to Mr. David Weeks. Moonlight from the JWB Band. And that was Moonlight from the JWB band featuring Mr. David Weeks, who we're paying a little tribute here tonight, right here on the Hard Rock and Sports Show. Jeff and Tom, right here till about 9:30 tonight. Jeff, I have to tell you, some really good music there. I love Dave's guitar sound.
Yeah.
I only got to see him play once, and I have to admit, it was late in the night on my way out the door of a benefit for your over at Mother Pugs. But Dave sounded like a great player. I mean, do you have any recollections of seeing him play live that you can give us a little something on?
Yeah, a couple times. I years ago seen Dave play in the studio Island Music on Bay Street across from John Panino's when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his band used to put a video up every Thursday night. They would put videos up of them playing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, from Phoenix Studio. I actually one night left the Hard Rock and Sports Band early to go play. I tried out for that band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and John Johnson, their longtime bass player, left for whatever reason, and I went and tried out. And Dave said, like the guys like you playing and everything else, but John contacted us and he wants to come back. And I remember telling him, I was like, well, listen, I said, if you guys take John, I said it's just how it is, you know what I mean? And that's what ended up happening. They ended up going with John. So you can't get mad if a band is going to get back together, especially those guys. John and Dave played with one another for, about 7 million years. They used to have dinosaurs come to their show. They played together for so long. And you can't hold anything back from them for that. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
So if that's what it was, that's what it was. But I knew more. Dave, I used to see more of Dave at work. And he would come in and talk to me at work and tell me what was going on, what shows they had, and what was going on. And as far as them, recording their album and, like how they would learn songs. And, it was just nice to talk to Dave. It was nice when he came in because we would talk music of all kinds. Dave was a little bit older than we was, so he wasn't strictly into classic rock, but he also, didn't just, wasn't just metal either. He was in a little bit in between, a little bit of what we didn't listen to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was cool. It was cool.
So, Jeff, take a look at the phone number I just put on your screen. Do you recognize that by any chance?
No, but I would pick them up because I don't know who it may be.
All right, so
it could be somebody.
All right, so let's take a shot at it. We got a caller on the Hard Rock and Sports Show. Again, if you guys are out there and you're listening, you want to call on the phone, it's 347-826-9934 and 4 to talk to Jeff and I, and maybe talk a little bit about Dave Weeks or any of the topics we've talked about tonight. Let's see who's on the line with us right now. It's a 570-982 number. Caller, you're on the air with Hard Rock and Sports.
Hey, Tommy. Hey, Jeff. It's Pete Begley. I appreciate the show you're doing tonight.
Pete, I thought I recognized your phone number. I wasn't sure, but Pete, thank you for calling in. It's nice to hear your voice. I hope you're doing well.
How are you, Pete?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing good, Jeff. Thank you both so much for taking time to remember a really good man. I know Dave. We went to Curtis High School together, so it's going back quite some time, and played together, a lot through the years. But I haven't lived on Staten Island in a long time, so I hadn't seen him. And Jeff, I know you guys did the benefit recently, but I gig on weekends, and with the bars in New York not closing at 4 these days, I didn't have a chance to go see him because everything wrapped up before I could possibly get there. I couldn't get to the island much before midnight on a Saturday, so I didn't get to see him. And now it hurts, all the more because he's just an old friend. You know how it is. We connect with friends on Facebook we haven't seen that you can't wait to be in a room with again. And oh man, it's just sad to not have that opportunity. My condolences to his wife and children. They're just going through unspeakable pain right now. This is a shock to everyone. Look, we all say such and such was a nice guy when, after an untimely death. But in the case of Dave Weeks, he really was extraordinarily nice. And there's just, you won't find a person can say a bad thing about him. And it wasn't a show that just, the man just didn't, he wasn't capable of maliciousness or contempt for another human. Just truly modeled the way I wish I could be.
That's saying something, Jeff. Good.
I don't think he had it in him to be a mean person. And when we got the phone call, I was in the office the other day, and the phone call came in, and the guy that was speaking to my boss and told my boss, breaking the news to him, said that this is a shame that he wouldn't hurt a fly. And I never once in all the years that I know Dave ever heard of anybody having an issue with him. Everybody got along with him. The guy just, he showed respect, and he got respect back. And he was just one of these people that just a good person, like Pete said. And, it's a real shame. Man, wow. It really is.
Yeah. Pete, can you go back a little bit or tell me a little something on Dave the player? I got to we played a little music tonight, and a great guitar sound. Can you tell us a little something about Dave the musician? Maybe going back to when you first heard him play, and some of the things maybe you've done together or saw him do.
Sure. Yeah. In our high school days, there was just so much intermingling among players. So, just sitting in with this band, sitting in with that band. Hey, let's do something. So a lot of that happened, and he was always like a really good player. That you're like, this is great, and he had big hands. He's a tall guy, a gentle giant, but loved hard rock, loved Rush and the progressive stuff that I like. Was open to any style of music. And, not long after I became a stick player and so, kind of wasn't as enmeshed in the whole hard rock world. But believe it or not, Dave, asked me to play his wedding. What an honor. And I did. Of course, it was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
She had a lovely bride. But man, I wasn't. How sometimes you guys both feel it. You see a gig or you hear a tape of yourself from 20, 30 years ago, and you're just, shoot, I hope no one hears it. You agree.
Yes.
So to think back on him offering me to play his wedding, I wasn't the player I am today at the time. It's quite a humbling memory, But speaking of memories of playing to Jeff, growing up, I'm sure we all spent non-sober nights in Washington Square Park, doing things that we don't want to talk about. But I can remember being there and seeing Dave Weeks working in Washington Square Park. And I can't believe it. I know someone that's got authority in this place. I felt like familiar. Just because I knew someone that had the keys to the doors I wasn't allowed into. But he was always gracious about it. He didn't throw his weight around, look the other way at what me and my friends were doing. It was just, a terrific feeling. And it was just no big thing with him. Nothing he ever accomplished or was whatever. He had no ego. he just was always a fine, humble gentleman. Went to his guitar playing, went to his philosophy, his job, and we got to Facebook is so great because you get to reconnect with friends you didn't think you'd ever
Yeah.
see again, basically.
Sure.
And I tend to be a little bit, outspoken on Facebook, to the chagrin of many that love me. But he was always, encouraging and not combative, even if he didn't agree. But he agreed with a good amount of what I put out. I quote the Bible every day, and he was a believer, and that's a comforting thing on this sad Thursday night. But yeah, just a fine gentleman all the way around, and the world is a lesser place without him.
That's a shame, man. It really is. It's sad. Sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom and Jeff talking with our good friend Pete Bagley, who hasn't been on since we did, I think, the Neil Peart tribute a year or so back. So nice to have Pete come on, and we appreciate him giving us a little insight to his relationship and his knowledge of Dave Weeks. So we're happy to have that. And Pete, you bring up a good message. It's something that Jeff and I talk about a lot, and luckily for us, we've kind of had the ability to reconnect with the guys we grew up with, and we did to spend a lot of time together. And we always talk about not taking for granted, hanging out and spending time together and making some more memories other than the juvenile ones we had as children. So I think your message,
that's the juvenile ones we're making as adults.
True. Yeah, there's a lot of juvenile messages. We still do. If I show you the text messages I get from Jeff on a daily basis, you know what I'm talking about, Pete. But Pete, your message is right. You know what? We don't know when the good Lord's going to knock on the door and call us home. So we have to take advantage of our days here, and definitely get out there and celebrate and spend time with family, friends, and do the things we enjoy. So your message is well received on this end.
Thank you, Tom. And you mentioned the influential drummer that died the last time I called in, and boy, Charlie Watts, on the same day as Dave is ironically, was just a terrific drummer, and he's a great loss in the world of rock and roll. And another fine gentleman. You can't say that about, too many rock stars, but Charlie Watts was one of them.
Jeff and I are not huge Stones fans. We respect the fact they're place in history and all that. But as I would say, a qualified musician, what is Charlie Watts as a drummer? Was he simply just like what they call, I guess, an in the pocket drummer? Was he a great drummer? Was he one of those guys?
Nobody was going to confuse him with fucking Neil Peart, man.
Well, but again, there's different styles, but that doesn't mean that they're lesser drummers. Give me a second or two on Charlie Watts and his ability. Most people know the band. They know obviously Mick Jagger. They know Keith Richards. To a lesser extent, they know Ronnie Woods, but nobody really, really knows. At least I don't. Charlie Watts.
Yeah, Charlie Watts is very hard to play like, because he's got an unorthodox technique, but he's of a jazz mindset where, hey, the drums aren't the primary thing here. Let me just keep everyone together and be the support and the foundation everyone can build on. And the Stones, the way Keith Richards plays guitar, very he'll knock you off feet if you're not paying attention. He will just drive you into a ditch. You got to be on your toes with the guitarist like Keith Richards. He's very unpredictable, his rhythms. And Watts was the perfect complement to that. You couldn't compare him to a Neil Peart, but I'll tell you this: Charlie Watts was ready to go out on the road at age 80. Neil Peart had to retire. He couldn't physically play anymore at about 62, 63, I think. And I love Peart. Rush, one of my favorite bands. But a lot of respect for Charlie Watts, and to hold down, the drum scene in the band that has had, top 5 albums for 55 years.
Yeah.
No one's held a drum seat longer than Charlie Watts, and that speaks volumes. But he did a ton of jazz albums. I follow a good amount of jazz pages on Facebook, and those guys talk about him with deep respect for what he did for the art form and for his playing ability. So he was a giant of a player, and he's unreplaced and a true gentleman.
Yeah, we keep losing the. Jeff brought up a great point today. We lose these guys, and yet there's nobody to fill the void. In sports, we talk about Jeter retires, and you think what's going to happen next, and here comes Aaron Judge. Peyton Manning retires, and the next group of great quarterbacks come around, but nobody's out there replacing these giants that we're losing. Nobody's replacing Neil Peart. Nobody's replacing Charlie Watts. That's the sad part of it for us music fans.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of bands that become household names and stay household names for more than 10 years, let alone 30, 40, or 50. Very few bands are able to achieve that anymore. And I think their style be limited. The Stones stretch out. They would do, gut blues and strange country and disco with Miss You and all that. They didn't turn their nose up at all. They would try out new things. And Charlie Watts was there for all of it, keeping it legitimate, keeping it true and with integrity. And that says an awful lot. But yeah, the newer crop of stuff, there's only songs. There's only songs I like. But there's not too many bands that I like that have had, 10, 15, 20-year career. And I wish there was more of it.
There's nobody out right now that's going to hit numbers like that and be around for time like that. I don't see it.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Yeah,
in the day of the single, they'd rather push a single and get a couple singles out of a band than to push a band and get a couple albums and good albums out of them. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's very difficult because even if a band puts out, great album after great album, they have to tour. And once you start touring, the record companies get a lot more control over you and try to pigeonhole you into a box. I saw something on the WNEW-FM page, and it said, back in the day, WNEW-FM would have just blown out the playlist for that day, talked about Charlie Watts, had old stories, played nothing but the Stones for hours. But K-Rock, won't do that. It's a formula, and that's it. So you don't have that personable kind of radio station and DJ in your life. Today when you're just driving in the car.
No, it is. And it's a lost art form that people don't recognize anymore. And you're right. You don't have that, place where you could turn to when you lose a Charlie Watts, where you could get that kind of, maybe the Eddie Trunk of the world.
Nah, and not even on that, dude, because when Charlie Watts died, we were at work and we had the radio on, and they weren't even playing any Stones stuff. They weren't playing anything from the Stones. And that's not, a lot of that has to do with the phones nowadays. Because if you want to hear it, you just stream it onto your phone.
That's true.
You don't have to sit and listen to the radio. Once the radio tells you, well, so-and-so died, Charlie Watts died. Like, oh, shit, let me go on my phone here. And, okay, we got a whole bunch of Stone stuff right here. I don't have to listen to them play a couple songs from the Stones and then move it along. I could listen to the Stones the rest of the day if I want.
I think like the art of rock and roll and music to a certain extent, I think radio was that buffer back in the day where when somebody like this was lost, you would tune in to your favorite DJ, and he would be playing songs and interviewing people and giving you stories on that artist. And I think that's Pete, you brought it up. It's a lost art, and I miss it. I'm a big radio guy, and I grew up listening to the radio, and I miss that intimacy that the DJ can hold you for 2, 3, 4 hours at a clip, just with some words and a little bit of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Carol Miller, you get a little taste of that with Get the Lead Out.
Yeah.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But just a little snippet, 15 minutes, and then it's done. It's back to corporate radio.
Yep.
Next. But yeah, I kind of feel bad for the younger generation that they don't. There's not a DJ that they say, "Oh man, Scott Muni's on." There's Dennis Elsis. He's going to be great. I want to hear the Nightbird Allison.
Yeah.
They don't grow up with this. Spotify's just never going to give you that.
Yep.
So it's but hey, technology keeps moving. There's a lot to be thankful. I'm looking at both of you guys on a tiny little phone while we're speaking. We're so blessed with the technology we have. So I don't want to sound gloom and doom.
No, but
I do miss that intimacy.
I agree. Yeah, listen, technology is always good, but listen, it's always great to have the technology. We'll all say that how we did without it, but you do miss. There are certain things from my childhood, and radio is one of them, Pete. So.
But you know what? That's the big thing. That's the problem now with radio. Nobody wants to put on a radio and hear somebody talk. So all they got to do is listen to their phone, and they could listen nonstop instead of listening to having a DJ captivate you for hours, like you said a few minutes ago. Now you don't need that. You just put your phone on or whatever, satellite radio, whatever you got, Alexa, whatever. Apple Play, whatever, and just nonstop music. You never have to have anybody bother you again while you're listening to it, but you're paying for it. The radio is free.
Yeah.
And it's you're right, it's a lost art. It really is.
Yep, no doubt. But Pete, listen, we thank you. You're welcome anytime. We love having you. I love reading your posts. I pay attention to you all the time. But you're a good friend, and we appreciate you giving us some time on Dave during this little tribute we're trying to do. And of course, sir, we'd love to have you back on anytime just to talk, music, sports, or the day's news. You're always welcome with our show.
Tommy and Jeff, thank you both so much. The Yanks are doing great. I'm happy to say that. Just to get a little sports plug in.
Yes.
But Dave Weeks, God rest his soul, a good and righteous man. Gone to a better place, and my condolences to his loved ones. Thanks for having me on, fellas. God bless you for what you do.
Thanks, Pete. Thank you, and God bless you as well. That's Pete Begley, Staten Island legend, Jeff. I don't care what anybody tells me. That guy's a Staten Island legend.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And
yes.
One of the comments that Chris Lang left, that's my boss from work, and I totally forgot this until he wrote it. That Dave did build and repair guitars. I used to talk to him about that.
Wow.
But more than that, he worked for DiMarzio.
DiMarzio really?
Was a pickup company, yeah. That Dave worked for. I remember that in the past. And he also told me stories about when he used to tour. He was on tour. I just don't know who he was with. I don't know if Chris remembers. There's
actually somebody on the phone we can ask that question.
All right. Well,
I think if the phone number is written, I got it right. I think this is Steve, right, Jeff? Steve Barber. So I'm going to pick up Steve and get him on. I think that Steve is a longtime drummer and friend of Dave Weeks. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it over, and here's Steve.
Go ahead, man.
Steve.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's Tom and Jeff. Welcome to the Hard Rock and Sports Show, and thanks for calling in.
Yes, it's great to be here, and we miss our guitar, my guitar player, the great Dave Weeks, who I was fortunate to play with for over 25 years. But yeah, like you said, he's with God, and that's important, So, but we miss him.
It's a shame, man. I know that you guys played together a long time. How did you guys end up getting together and starting a band? It's been a while, but
well, I are we talking about the latest or when we first started? Dave and
Well,
John.
when you first started, man, tell us from day one what happened. How did you get together with him?
Yeah, well, he, I don't know. You see, Dave knew this. He had better information than I did, but I was like 18 years old coming out of high school, and I don't know how he found out about me. But one day it was through maybe an ad or something, and we started practicing. I was 18. We were practicing on Bay Street, and then John came in, and we formed the alliance, and and then we went different projects, but we always had time to play, and I think I was like either 18 or 19, and and Dave and John were great. I mean, Dave was just an amazing player, an amazing guy, and I loved working with him. He was a great guy.
Yeah, with the music, like being that Dave was a little bit older than like me and you. I know I'm closer in age to Dave than you are. We discussed that earlier today. He wasn't really a metal guy, but he wasn't a classic rock guy. What would you say like his like his forte was? Like what was he, more of a hard rock guy to you? Was he more of a classic rock guy? Because he seemed to play anything he wanted.
I mean, oh no, I mean he was, like I said, he was a brilliant musician. I mean, when I first started with him, I mean, Jeff, you know this. We were into Rush and ELP and Genesis, and yes, that's who I was. And then Chick Corea and stuff like that, Return to Forever and Future Orchestra. But then when I started playing with him, he would tell me about Michael Schenker. He would tell me about Judas Priest, Deep Purple. He was a big black metal guy. He was also a big Schenker guy. He loved Michael Schenker. So, I mean, they introduced that to me in a different way, in a new way of looking at, how a band is. And, like I said, he taught me a lot, Jeff. He really did. As far as rock and roll, heavy stuff. Yeah.
I had, talks with him at work, and he would come see me at work sometimes on a Sunday when it was quiet, and we'd spend some time talking, and you could talk music with Dave for weeks, literally, no pun intended there. He just had so much music in him. It was unbelievable. And, we played a couple of the songs from your album. And what was it like to record with him? Was he like a perfectionist and want to make sure everything was right?
Oh no, he was 100% professional. But like I said, a great attitude. I mean, we really had fun doing that album. And when he came in, when we did the basic tracks, I mean, I think we did it in one take. And then he came in and he did the guitar, he did the leads and everything. And I mean, he sounded brilliant. And it was really funny. He used to say like, I serve it up and I give it to you. It's up to you what you guys do with it. I mean, that was like one of the things. But that's like I used to call it Davism. He had such a great attitude. I mean, Jeff, he had such a great attitude, a zest for life. Like I said, a great man, a great musician, and a great friend. And it's gonna be tough for me and Mario right now, and John. So it's gonna be a tough road.
I was just gonna say again. We're on the air, Hard Rocket Sports. Jeff and Tom talking, doing a little tribute to Staten Island's own Dave Weeks, who suddenly passed away this week. And we offer our condolences to Dave's friends and family, bandmates. We're gonna have Mario and Dave's daughter on in a few minutes. But right now, Steve Barber, his longtime friend and drummer, giving us a little something. Dave, Steve, do you have a story that kind of epitomizes Dave? Kind of like something that maybe people wouldn't know, a little background story that you could give us that kind of sums up who Dave Weeks was as a person, a musician, your friend.
Well, I mean, what gets me is like once again with music, and Jeff might know this, man. When he was working with the Parks, this one story he told me recently, like maybe a year ago, about he used to work at Washington Square Park back in the 80s. He used to bump into Jaco Pastorius, the bass player.
Wow, I never knew that.
You need to tell me. I'm like, Dave, you need to tell me you were hanging out with Jaco Pastorius. He goes, yeah, Steve, he used to come up and try to get money. And here's the funny story. He goes, yeah, and I'm still waiting for the $20 he owes me. I'm like, Dave, I don't think you're going to get it, Dave.
Yeah. The story's funnier than the $20. You know what I mean? You'd rather not get the 20 back.
Hey, listen, for $20, he bought himself a great story. How about that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, just the fact that we hung out with probably one of the greatest bass players that ever walked on this earth. But he told me that story, and I think he also told me about an Elvis story. I mean, there was so many things that I mean, we did more laughing than playing, me and Dave. I mean, So, but the chunk of this story was great. That was really.
Yeah, I would say that's got to be a classic. I never ever heard that one. I mean, he would come in, and most of the times when he talked about stuff, he would tell me about some old shows that he did and talk about equipment that he was going to use or what he wanted to get and everything else. And he did tell me when you guys were recording the album, like what was going on. He goes, yeah, we were recording the album and it's going well. But, he never really talked about himself as a player. He had a lot of pride in the band with you guys. He really did, man. He loved talking about the band more so than anything about himself, So he looked upon you guys with a lot of respect. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I mean, he, like I said, I've been playing with him and John for over 25 years. And, obviously you're going to learn things and, you're going to challenge one another and you're going to try and play better and better. But I'm because of him. I mean, plain and simple. I mean, because he would be like, you would turn around, like, he would play something, I would play something, we would feed off each other. But it was like, it was like we knew at a certain point, we knew where we were as musicians. We knew where to go. And Dave was, I used to call him the maestro because he used to to take the tempos and everything. But it was a great unit, guys. And it was a pleasure playing with him, Real pleasure.
Yeah, I got the chance to play with him once. I played with you guys once at Future Star a couple of years ago, and he was really easy to play with, and he was really cool about things too.
Yeah, I mean, and here's another one for you guys. I mean, he had a famous saying, like, because when you play, you want to make money and stuff like that. But he always used to say, he goes, Steve, my drummer, it's about playing for the people. It's about playing for the people. It doesn't matter if there's 2 people in there or 2 million people. It's about playing for the people. So that was him. I mean, that was, I mean, like I said, I mean, but Mario is going to have some funny story for you guys too, being the new guy, so to speak. But like Rush was saying, Neil Peart was the new guy. Well, Mario's the new guy. So.
Mario's he's waiting on deck with Dave's daughter, so we'll get them up in a second or two. But
Kelsey.
Yep. So they're waiting on deck. But Steve, listen, I want to say thank you. We really appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time tonight to come on and pay tribute to your friend. Your words mean a lot. More so than we could probably put into it. So I say thank you. I'll let Jeff finish it up.
Yeah, Steve, there's not much more we can say other than thank you, man. I know it was a rough week for you guys and his family. I know that Thursday night you guys would be in the studio, if I'm correct, rehearsing. So it's a sad thing, man. I feel bad for him. I really do. He was a good guy.
Jeff, we at some point we are going to continue on because Dave would want us to do that, and we're going to continue to play music for you guys and come and see us. In a few months, in a couple of months, I mean, but Dave would want us to continue to play, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And again, we played a couple songs earlier, and it was really great music. And again, I'll say thank you from both of us. We really appreciate it. Our condolences to you and everybody else out there. And again, keep doing what you guys are doing. I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure Dave would want that.
All right, guys. God bless. Have a good night.
Okay, that's Steve Barber saying good night. Thank you very much, Steve.
Good, Steve.
Drummer for the band JWB, and Jeff, it's universal. I'm sure you're not going to get anybody on here who isn't going to feel the way that you and Steve and Pete Begley, and I'm sure Mario is going to give us now. And I think we'd all want that. If it was our turn, we'd all want this nice nice things to be said. But it seems like Dave was just a genuine nice guy.
He was best word to describe him as gentleman, man. The guy was just a nice guy. I don't think he ever came in and had a bad word to say about anybody, no matter who it was. The guy was, it wasn't like when you seen him coming, like, oh God, here he comes. Here he comes again. No, it was never like that. It's like you seen him, hey, Dave, what's going on? And he'd stay and he'd talk to you for a while. And, it was always about music. And then he'd be like, oh, I got to go, guy. I'll see you later. And then off he go. And, just a genuinely nice guy, man. That's all you could say. How you doing, Bonnie? I don't know if you can see us with the.
Well, let's get to Mario and Kelsey. But guys, remember this Hard Rocket Sports, Jeff and Tom. We're every Thursday night, 6:30 to 7 to 9:30, through Facebook and YouTube. We're also on the radio, and of course, this show will be will be repeated on SportsWire, the network. Thank you to Tom and everybody at SportsWire. That's at sportsanarium.com/player. What the hell is that symbol? Jesus Christ. Exclamation point. I'll put it up on the website, but this show will be replayed on SportsWire's network probably Monday night. You can also find this on our YouTube page, Spotify. You heard some music from the JWB band on the show. Thank you for Mario and everybody for letting us play their music. And let's not wait any longer. Let's get Mario Ortiz and Dave's daughter, Kelsey, on with Jeff and Tom on the Hard Rocket Sports Show. Hey, guys.
Hi. How you doing?
How are you?
First, let me start by saying to both of you, Kelsey and to Mario, our deepest sympathy and condolences to your family, Kelsey, on the loss of your dad. Mario, to your friend and bandmate. I'm going to turn this over to Jeff, but I just want to say we couldn't be sorrier, and thank you for allowing us to do this tonight and coming on the show with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm absolutely honored that you guys wanted to do this as well because, my father had a heart of gold and would give the shirt off his back to anyone. There's no one like him in this world. I've never met another individual as kind-hearted, caring, and compassionate about anyone, even a stranger on the street. He would just go, my friend, how you doing today? And stuff like that. And it's still a shock right now. I was just talking to him on Sunday. His birthday was last week, and he was telling me Sunday, he goes, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to the office. I'm putting him for retirement. He was so excited, and I can't believe this is really happening.
Yeah.
Man, it's a shame. I feel bad for him. It's horrible to hear. When we were at work and we got the phone call, it was, very sad. But let's try to focus on him for a few minutes and try to keep your mind off of it for a little bit. And let's just start off and get right into it. What was it like to have a dad that played in bands like that? You had to look up to him. I don't know if you were into that kind of music and everything, and if he was learning stuff. Did he ever say, hey, come listen to this, tell me what you think of that?
Me and my father had a very special bond when it came to music. He always was introducing me to new stuff all the time. We always, we listened to the classics, we listened to new stuff. We would sit there, we would have our cup of coffee in the morning before we go to work. We'd have a cup of coffee, smoke a cigarette, listen to WSOU, and listen to what was coming out on the radio and stuff. And he instilled in me and my brothers, I have 2 younger brothers, a love of music. And he never said, oh, I want you guys to play instruments and stuff. It was more of like trying to guide us. Myself, I was a woodwinds expert. I went to college for music education. So I really cherished those phone calls with him where we would sit there and we'd talk about music theory for hours. Like we'd be listening to the radio together and we'd be talking about this chord change, that chord change. He came to every show, and my brothers also both played too. My middle brother, Zachary, he played the clarinet, and my youngest brother, Ian, he played saxophone, clarinet, and he took after me with the oboe as well, because my main instrument was the oboe. And me and him were just always having deep conversations about music and theory behind it and stuff. And I would give him my analysis for college too. And I'd say, all right, this is what we're working on in class. I see this, that, and the other thing with these chord changes. What do you see? And we'd like build off these kind of things and always like be spitballing and stuff. And it was always, he had our dog Murray, who he was very, very close with. And it would always be me, him, and Murray sitting in the basement. He has a room in the basement that had he had a stereo system he actually built himself while he was working the garbage truck for the Parks Department. He found all these pieces, pieced it together, surround sound, record player, cassette player, all this kind of stuff. And me, him, and Murray would sit in the basement and we'd listen to him play. We'd talk. We'd have a cup of coffee, smoke a cigarette, and just catch up and stuff. And he was a phenomenal person, a phenomenal musician. You'd never hear him say that because, his thing was, well, you just got to keep practicing, you got to keep working at it. And I would say, no, Dad, you're really amazing. You're so talented. No. There's still stuff I have to learn. There's still stuff I have to work on. A musician never stops practicing, learning their craft and stuff. And I took all those lessons to heart as well because I was a musician myself. I was going to college for music. And it was a special bond that we had over those kind of things. And I'm going to miss it tremendously.
At least you have some good memories of your dad and having something to bond over him with music. That's a great thing. But Mario, a quick question for you: what was it like when you were writing songs for your album? Writing with somebody like Dave, or you hear some of the guitar licks that he played. He was a phenomenal guitar player. Like,
oh my God.
Did you feel intimidated trying to write lyrics to his songs, or what?
Honestly, well, here's the thing with them is they were together for a long time before I came around. They found me. I remember I was doing the show at the Curly Wolf one night. Well, it wasn't my show. I was just guest singing, and all of a sudden these two guys walk in, and I forgot what song it was. I think it had been the end of Mr. Crowley, and I went in the back. I did the song and then I ran in the back to just, have a cigarette at the time when I smoked. And all of a sudden these two guys come out, John, and then there was Dave, who was this tall guy, tall guy. Now, I wasn't intimidated by his playing. I was intimidated by his size when I first met him because this guy was huge.
Yeah.
So they come out in the back and tell me that they have a band and they want me to come down and try out and whatever. And I wasn't expecting Dave to be as kind as he was when I first met him. Like, he just came up to me and he's a very
intimidating man, but that smile.
He's the definition of the gentle giant. Yeah. Like, you don't get any more.
Everybody has said that so far, and I've seen so many people say that about him. They call him the gentle giant.
It's his heart was as big as he was.
Yeah. So when they told me to come down to the studio, I thought they were kidding with me because when I got there, they weren't in the room that they said they were going to be in. I went in and I said, yeah. So I take the bus all the way down to Phoenix Studios and I get there and I'm like, I'm looking for Dave Weeks. I said, I was told to come here. This is 6 years ago. And they're like, oh no, we don't have anybody here by that. I was like, damn it. I was like, these guys had me on. They were just joking with me, like making me come all the way over here. Next thing you know, I go outside, I'm getting ready to call a cab because it started to rain. And I was like, all right, I'm not taking the bus back home. All of a sudden, the door swings open of Phoenix Studios, and out comes Dave with a cigarette in his mouth. He's like, Mario. He's like, buddy, we're waiting for you in there. He's like, I didn't know you were here. I told you to call. I was like, I tried calling. I said, nobody answered. I was like, So, I mean, that night when I was going to try out for the band, it was more like an acceptance thing because once I left there that night, they were just like, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. And they told me the original songs they did and all the songs that you hear on the album, those are all songs that they told me like that they did. They had them recorded once already. Some of them were recorded for the first time because on the cassette that I have
a cassette too. When I was, because Steve and John and my father, Steve and John were at my first birthday party. Let's put it that way. And I vividly remember the night when they met you at the Curly Wolf.
Yeah.
And my father was like, this kid has an amazing voice. We need to get him in the band. They were so excited to work with you.
He always told me that whenever we used to do like the set list and all that kind of stuff, I used to say, Dave, I said, I want to make sure that everything sounds good. I was like, I want to make sure that you guys are all right with the set. That was the number one thing when it came to them, and why I loved working with them so much was because they were so easy to work with. There's some places where like, we don't want to do this. So Dave was like, listen, you have the voice, you make the set list. We'll play. He's like, but you're in charge of that. He's like, we'll practice them, we'll have it all set, but you do the set list. But when it came to recording the album, back to the question, because I could go on forever with Dave because we we did You're on Your Own Tonight, which is a song off the album. I had those lyrics for years, and I told the guys, I said, they're like, do you have any original lyrics? I said, yeah, I'll bring one of them in. Because like I said, they had all those songs already. We were just trying to remake them into more, because they were very like, they're different. The songs that are on the album now, the original versions of them are so different that when Dave and John brought me in, they were like, we need to make it more metal kind of sounding, like rock, because that's my voice. I like the, bring it up. So they reworked all those songs and made them into something so much more powerful. And then You're on Your Own Tonight, I said, this is what I wanted to sound like, something like this. I told Dave, and I went to his house one time, and we worked on it for like one time there. But then once we got back to the studio, it sounded absolutely nothing like what I wanted it to sound like. But it sounded better than I expected. Like he followed some of what I said, but he's like, oh, and this I want to put this here, and that was like, whoa. Like what you said you wanted it to sound like, Dave had the way of making it that way.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I could say is I was not only one thing, but I'll regret is that I won't be able to work with the ideas with him again because. He had a way of just knowing exactly what I was talking about. Like, I mean, we shared a birthday, so there had to have been, like that August 13th gene or something, So,
listen, when it comes to musicians and you get to that click, I mean, I played for years, and when you find people that you click with that you could just like, you don't even have to look at them. You could just play. It could be the first time you play a song, and like we did our part. We did what we had to do, right? Everybody has to follow us. We're good, and that's what happened. So I can see that you having that with Dave, man. It happens, and when it happens, it's one of the best things that you can ever feel, man.
And of course, there was like ups and downs. Every band has them and all that kind of stuff. But when I came to it, like Dave always said, he's like, man, he's like. Whatever the case is, he's like, listen, bro. He's like, buddy. He's like, as long as you want to keep doing this, he's like, I'll be doing it with you. And he's like, you want to do a show? You want to go to the studio? He's like, I'll always be here, ready to go, and stuff like that. He's like, so and he really was, honestly. I mean, something that was so unexpected, and nothing prepares you for something like that. But he was all the way till the end. We just did a show a month ago. So, and we weren't going to do that show. We weren't going to do it. And I talked to Dave on the phone, and I said to him, I was like, I really don't know what to do. I said, I was like, because at the time with the thing going on, I said, we don't have anybody to do this right now, so maybe we shouldn't do it. We'll wait. And he's like, no. He's like, we'll figure it out. So then I asked my friend to come in and play, and the way it all worked out was just so weird to me. I feel like it was meant to be that we did that show, because if I didn't do that show with him and knew that something like this happened and I looked back and said we didn't do it, I would have been pissed off if I didn't get to play with him one more time.
Well, listen, I'm sure everybody involved is glad that happened, that you got the chance to play with him, and it's always a good thing. But Kelsey, I got a couple questions for you. Somebody in the comments, I don't know if you guys see the comments from where you are, but brought up that was on tour, and he toured with a couple bands. Can you tell us anything about that? What bands he was with? And
So we'll first circle back to the album they put out just recently. So the song Rock Bottom, I've been listening to that song since it was first written. My father would give me VHS tapes of them at rehearsal with Steve and John, and he would give me cassettes of the rehearsals too. And my favorite song always was Rock Bottom. And I would put the cassette in, I would put it to that song, I'd dance around the living room and stuff, and that song has special meaning to me because I've been listening to that my entire life. But I'm sorry, I keep losing my train of thought.
Take your time.
Yeah, it's just it's hard right now. It's very hard. I just can't believe it's real still, to be honest.
I feel bad for you. I'm happy you guys were able to come on tonight, and I spoke to Tommy about doing this the other day, and then I was able to get you, Kelsey, to come in. I believe I spoke to Mario first about it, maybe yesterday, but then by chance I was able to get you in on it, and I was just, it was nice to have you guys come on, and we wanted to do this for him because we had a benefit one time, and JWB band played that benefit, and it was nice. Mother Pugs.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah. So it was nice. I only got to see him play once or twice because I work on Sundays, so I don't get to go out much on Saturdays. And I got to see him play and hang out with him for a while. And I used to watch them play, John, Steve, and your dad, back in the early '90s, down on Bay Street, one of the studios on Bay Street I was working in. And he was always a great guitar player. Always a great guitar player. I don't know if I ever seen him with a singer though until you, Mario. So you definitely added a dimension to the band without a doubt.
Yeah, he always said that it was that when I came about, it shifted something in the right direction.
I've always felt that Mario was the missing puzzle piece to the JWB band. Like once Mario joined, because my father, when he first heard him sing, he was telling me that night I came home from work, and my father goes, "Yeah, we saw this new singer. He was playing at the Curly Wolf and everything, and he has a phenomenal voice. Oh my God, he was talking up a storm about you actually." He was very, very impressed. And I just felt, because I maybe missed, out of all the shows over the past years, you've been maybe 4 or 5 shows. And just to see the progression of when they started again, because they took some time off from the band, from I think the early 2000s up until they got
2014.
They got together again, yeah. And it was John, Steve, and my father, and John was singing. And when he joined the band and I was listening to their sound and everything, I was like, that is the missing piece that they needed. Like Mario completed that band in many, many ways. Even
looking back, like it was difficult because I didn't want to listen to anything that after hearing that, I the first thing in my mind was the band, like what, like I felt like it just, anyway, but I was like, then I saw it in my Apple Music or whatever, I saw the album cover and I was like, well, this is weird. I said, because it was there, and I was like, let me just push shuffle and I'll just listen to it. I was like, whatever. I was like, maybe a rocking song come on, that we did. Endearment song comes on, which is the slow song. And of course, I push shuffle and I just see what comes on, and that one was the first one that came on. I just sat there and then brought me to the voice notes in my phone, and there's so much stuff that I have from going to your house, me and him in the basement when he was laying down riffs and him talking about so last night I was just sitting there and just listening to it and saying like, wow, like he literally had so much material like to play, and like he would just play.
And he could come up with things on the fly too. He had perfect pitch. So you could play a note for him and he'd be like, oh, that's an A. You could play a chord. Oh, that's a C chord.
90
stuff
seconds.
like that. And he he was always like, he could listen to a song one time on the radio and then sit there and play it right back to me.
Yep.
He was that
Yeah,
talented and that musically inclined.
There's a lot of people like that. I've played with several of them. It takes me anywhere from a week to a month to learn a song that's 2 minutes long, and they'll sit there and figure out a Rush song right off the top of their head. And I'm like, why can't I do that? But yeah, I know he was a great musician, your dad. He really was.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
And a good friend. He was just an all around good guy, and the most humble. And the one thing about Dave was, this is where me and him are total opposites. There would be times when something would happen at a show, anything random, like somebody would say something, or somebody would, everybody has their own little comments here and there. And I would say to Dave, I'd be like, "Do you believe that shit?" I was like, so and so, or if somebody didn't like give us a pay thing, even though the house was full, and Dave would be like, "Listen, brother," he's like, "It's not bad." He's like, "It's fine." He's like, whatever. I mean, like I said, I never did it. I never really was in it. I was in it for the fun and all that kind of stuff. But, whenever some little tidbit or whatever happened, Dave would just be like, whatever. And then I would just be like, how are you so calm? Like, how are you
That's
so...
the way he seemed. Like, just
He was.
Well,
to me, it was amazing. And it was a good way to be. And, that was back then. Now I'm more like that now because of seeing all this.
You learn.
with him.
You learn from him.
And, yeah, when I was, when I came in, I was still kind of youngish at the time. I wasn't even allowed in bars when the shows were going on. My cousin used to bring me and be like, "Don't go by the bar, sit over there by the closet and watch the band from over there." Because I was like 14, 15. And then I was 18 or whatever when I met him. I don't know how old I was actually. I don't remember now, but then I just learned so much from him and how to handle just doing everything that has to do with the music stuff and the shows and booking and if there's like a comment or whatever, he's like, they're here to see you, so it can't be that bad. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, he has a point actually.
I mean, a
lot
lot of
somebody in that chair.
a lot of better guitar players, and I consider Dave one of the better ones because he was very good. They always spent a lot of time chasing a sound. They were never happy with the sound that they had and everything else. Did he do that? Was he one of those guys like he would say, "Hey, listen to this," and ask you, do you hear the difference? And meanwhile, like when I used to do it to me, I was like, "Yeah, I can hear the difference." I couldn't hear the difference. Was he one of those guys that would listen to this? Not what I want yet.
He was always experimenting too. Every once in a while, he'd just go, "Oh, Kelsey, I got this new pedal. I want to see how it makes the guitar sound." And he was always trying to find the perfect sound for every moment and every song and every chord. And he'd always be like, "Kelsey, come in the basement. I got a new pedal. I want you to hear it and tell me what you think. Do you think this is good for this song? Do you think that's good for that song?" And he was always striving to make himself a better musician. And he'd been playing for years. He was self-taught, actually. And then when he got older, he studied classical guitar for a while. And his story about it actually was he was taking classical guitar lessons from a teacher. We actually have his personal CD, too, because he ran into him and he worked for the Parks Department on the North Shore because they had lessons at Snug Harbor. So he ran into his old teacher. He gave him his CD and everything. They caught up, but he started out teaching himself. His mother taught him piano first. His mother was a piano player. And he decided, well, I want to get into more rock and roll. So he bought electric guitar, started teaching himself. And then he ended up getting classical lessons. But he looked at the teacher one day and says, "Come on, we got to spice this up a little bit. Let's get a little dirty in there, get a little rough and tumble and everything." And he's like, "That's not how it goes. It's classical music." And my father's like, "No, I really want to play some rock and roll." He was like, because he was big into all those bands back in the 80s and the 90s. And he was the one who introduced me to grunge music when I was 2 years old. And I was listening to all of that with him because our favorite, Alice in Chains, me and him loved Led Zeppelin. We knew every single song by Led Zeppelin. That was one of his favorites. But he was always striving to be as best as he could, but he would never come out and say, "Oh, I think I did a really good job." He would always be, we'd be in the car coming home from the shows because I was the roadie, and I was always carrying the bags, doing this, doing that, and in the car ride home. Oh, well, in this song, I didn't really like the way I played this. I felt like I slipped a note here. And mind you, my father was 6'5", big hands, full of callus from working outdoors for 35 years for the Parks Department. And just my favorite part of going to the shows was just watching how effortlessly his fingers just flew up across that guitar. You knew he was home when he was playing.
And the chills just thinking about it.
Yeah. You knew he was home when he was playing. And that was his happy place. And when the band got back together, I was so happy because I knew he was passionate about it. I knew he really enjoyed it. And he always said too, he didn't care about the money or fame really at this point in his life. He was like, I'm in it for the people. I'm in it to put smiles on faces. If I can have one person say, I really enjoyed the show. Even if one person showed up to the show, he would go up to them, thank you so much. It means the world to me that you showed up. I really hope you enjoyed it. Always going out of his way. And he was a beautiful person.
We did a show at Cuckoo's Nest one night. And it's a funny story that you say that because we were there for, that was when we first started, when I got into them. And that was the one place that was booking us all the time. And I remember the first time going there, and I never did a whole show with a band of my own before. So I walked into this place and I'm like, wow. I was like, there's a hallway and we're set up right by the bathroom. I'm just like, wow, wizards. I'm like, okay. So there was maybe 4 or 5 people all the way at the end of the bar over there who did not at all look like they would listen to rock music. I was in fear for my life because it was one of the first shows we did. And there was maybe 5 people at the end who just looked like they would just literally just kill me. So I'm just I quickly set up the PA system and I just stand in my spot. And the guy, John, Dave, and Steve, they've done this for years. So they're just walking around, getting to know the territory and all that. And as the night went on, we were doing the show. And all of a sudden, I forgot what song we did. Oh my God, it was one of the originals. I think it might have been One of the Boys or Over and Over. Over and Over is not on the album. Yeah. So that was one of the ones we didn't do. But it might have been Over and Over or one of those. I forgot. But after that set was over, which was the second set at that point, this guy comes up to him. He's like, man, you guys got soul. He's like, you guys play with so much soul. But that's all he kept saying. For the whole rest of the night, he just kept saying, you guys got soul and all that. So of course, Dave, for the whole month after that, every studio, he's like, I think we played with a lot of soul tonight, brother. And I started I'm like, we just finished doing Into the Void because we were learning it after that show. We were learning that. And I was like, he's like, man, we played that with a lot of soul. And oh my God, it was just little things that he just held on to and he just knew how to say at the right time. So that's why I never forget what happened in the beginning because he just always had a way of looking back there, not in a bad way of looking back, but in a way of saying, hey, with Dave, he never ever forgot where he was in the beginning, knowing that he was a new guy at some point, and now he's here. He never forgot the in between, and clearly because of the soul thing, I know that that's a fact.
Well, I believe Tommy has a question he wants.
I do, but I wanted to kick in. I got to do the usual radio stuff. So again, Hard Rockin' Sports, Jeff Tomwinski, Tom Florio. Happy to be talking with both Kelsey and Mario, who are here helping us pay tribute to Kelsey's dad and a longtime Staten Island guitar player, and by all accounts, we're hearing tonight and all over social media, one of the nicest people anybody's able to come across on Staten Island, and we're paying tribute to Dave Weeks tonight right here on the show. Jeff's doing a wonderful job bringing this in. I want to thank everybody along the way, Pete Bagley and Steve Barber for offering them, and everybody who's paying attention right here. It's just my little job here to make all those little things that show up, and when it goes to SportsWire, it'll play across there. So again, thanks to everybody who's doing this. And Kelsey, again, we want to extend our condolences to you and the rest of your family. And again, I'd like to just one thing, Kelsey, for me, can you give us one thought story that best represents your dad that maybe people, well, everybody knows how great a guy he was. Just something that you'll bring the smile to your face someday when you're just driving down the road or sitting in the house. Give us one thing that kind of sums up your dad best.
Well, I wanted to just take a moment to say a couple of things. So my father had was very religious. He had very deep faith inside of him. And one thing my father always knew exactly what to say. And through these past couple of days since he passed, I still hear in my head, he's just like, God's always with you. He's always watching out for you. Like if I had questions, if I had problems, he'd just be like, ask God these questions because he'll give you the right answers. And he instilled this faith so deep inside of me that I'm hurt, I'm in pain that my father's gone, but I have all these lessons that he taught me, all these kind words. Like if I was having a bad day, I knew if I called him, he'd calm me down, he'd bring me back and stuff, and he'd just remind me, like, everything's going to work out. God's always with you. He's always going to take care of you. And I know that my father definitely, he lived his life like a saint. He was a beautiful person, cared deeply about anyone and everyone he came across with. And, me and him, we spent a lot of time together growing up and stuff. And from the Parks Department, he would always bring me and my brothers baseballs, baseball mitts, whatever he found. All of our toys were found in the park somewhere. And we would play we'd play catch with him all the time. So he taught me how to throw a spiral football. He taught me how to catch with a glove and everything. And me and my brothers would be outside playing with him. We had the Green Giant in the backyard, as he named it. So we would play kickball with him. It would be me and my brothers against him. And if he kicked it into the Green Giant, we were just like, well, shit, there goes the ball. I'm not getting that back today. And he was always, always out there with us, always playing with us and stuff. And I just, over the years, like especially in my adult years, I became a lot closer with him. And I really started to get to know him as a person and know like where he's been and what he's done, how he lived his life. And like I said, he was very religious, so he lived his life by the word of the Lord and stuff and the Bible. And he was always, we'd sit there at night and we'd sit at the table and we'd just go back and forth and he would tell me all these things, these stories, these lessons. And he really instilled that faith in me that, like, I know for a fact that he's up there, as he would always say, at the right hand of God. And he also... he just is, I don't know what to say anymore, but he just, he taught me a lot. He really did. He instilled faith in me. And he was also an organ donor. So they were able to take his eyes, his leg bones, and his some of his skin. So what comforts me in this time right now is knowing there's somebody out there with his eyes, seeing the world as beautiful as he saw it himself. And that gives me comfort that I know he's still out there viewing the world as beautiful as it is and helping somebody out, because that's who he was. He would go out of his way for anyone, take care of anyone. It could be a stranger on the street, it could be somebody he knew his entire life. He would give the shirt off his back. He'd sit there, he'd listen to you, he'd talk to you, and he always, always, always knew what to say. He was wise, the wisest person I ever met. He always had the right thing to say, always knew what to do. And I'm going to miss that guidance so much. And those words and our phone calls and our conversations and stuff. And just spending time with him, talking about music, him turning me on to new music, us sitting there listening to the radio, listening to records in the basement, me listening to him play, going to all the shows. It's just, I can't believe it's real still, but
I'll never believe that it's real.
Yeah.
When you called me, I remember I was at work and I was outside talking to my coworker about some stupid shit that was going on in the beginning of the week, and like I was so annoyed about it, and like, I was like this, that, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden my phone rings in my pocket And I take my phone out and I'm like, I look and it says Kelsey on. I was like, oh, Kelsey's calling me. I was like, let me see what's going on. I answer the phone. She tells me. And then right then and there, I was just like, I kind of stopped for a second and just like, I didn't even know what to do. And still, when I talk about it, I that's how speechless I was. I was like, wait, I'm like, you're not. I was like, no. I was like, so then it clicked with me. I was like, wait, she needs to talk. Like, let me talk. I was like, oh, well, you told me to contact whoever I can and all this and that. And as soon as she told me everything, I hung up the phone and I stood there. My friend said to me, he's like, what happened? And I was like, Dave died. I was like, what? He's like, what? I was like, my guitar player is gone. Like, so to me, it's still not real. And it ain't going to be real to me. And somebody said to me the other day that, well, when I told them about it, they're like, well, what happens now? I mean, to think what happens now, I'm not even thinking about what happens now because I put that in the comments on Facebook and I don't know what happens now. And because he was literally the guy that I was always playing with since day one. Yeah, there was a few people who left and came and whatever, but it was always me and Dave and Steve. And, I mean, I know they had a whole band before me and that kind of stuff, but my guys were always, John, Dave, Steve, and then, but those two guys were the main ones that I stayed with always. And so now to think about it in a way that I'm not going to have one of the main guys who I used to run ideas off of and plan things with and plan set lists. And, he'd call me the day of the show, the day before the show, get the PA out, he's like, make sure it's all good. He's like, I cleaned it out that one time because that one time the PA broke and he fixed it somehow and we haven't had a problem with it since. And it sounds like it sounds better than ever.
That's my father. He could fix anything.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the countless amounts of guitars, basses, amps, PAs that came through my house and that he fixed perfectly every time.
He was supposed to work on one of my basses for me. We just were never able to get it together as far as making the exchange to give it to him. But he had told me that he was going to work on an issue that I had with my bass. But,
every time I called him,
it's good.
He was hanging up to go work on something. He's like, or I called him. He's like, oh, I'm just downstairs, working on some guitar or, he used to like work on John's bass, and he's like, yeah, I'm just working on this. And like, he would be like, give me a call tonight. I'll be downstairs practicing. Or he was always doing something, always. And like to think that like that's not here anymore. Somebody who was always doing something, whether it had been music or work or talking to somebody. Or it's like, how could you? To me, what put such disbelief in my heart about it is that something that I thought was unstoppable stopped, and I feel like I'll never believe that it's real. Ever. I don't think so.
Look, I got to ask this one question. I know that he had a guitar made for himself.
Yes.
It was made from Norway, in Norway or something?
Norway.
Yes.
Tell us about that a little bit, please.
So his friend Freddie that he met on Facebook actually, just in some random chat on a post or something, I think he found Freddie, and my father wanted to, he loved Norway. He always wanted to go, and because he was Norwegian himself, he always said, "Oh, I have all this Viking inside of me." Mm-hmm. And he became friends with Freddie, and Freddie created a custom guitar for him that I'm actually going to display at the services too. The two Les Pauls that he always played, the Flying V that he was obsessed with his entire life. He was chasing that Flying V for years. I was talking to his cousin this morning, and he was just like, he was going off about the Flying V too, because he's a guitar player himself. They were chasing that Flying V for years, and my father had just gotten one. And then the guitar that was custom made for him is also going to be there as well. It was a beautiful red guitar. Freddie made the whole thing by hand. Even up to the guy who created the pickups and the frets. He was in contact with him too, like always thanking everyone and saying like, "Oh wow, this is amazing, this is great." He kept in contact with every single person that would touch that guitar, and it's incredible that he was able to get this beautiful gift. And we wanted to display that as well.
It was an amazing. I remember him telling me. He showed me every week. We go to the studio. He would show me the body of the guitar, how it was coming out. He would show me the neck. He would show me the this and that. And like me being the paranoid person I am, I'm like, Dave, I said, how do you know? You met this person through Facebook. I'm like, how do you know that this is a real like? How do you know they're really going to send you this guitar? I was like, he's like, he's like. Dave never worried about a damn thing. It's like you could try and tell him like anything, and he's like, nah. He's like, it's all right. He's like, I know it. But then when the guitar got there, he called me that day. He's like, Mario, he's like, you're not gonna believe what's here. And he told me the guitar.
I was the one who got the package actually, and I was like, oh man, the guitar is finally here because I saw all the updates every step of the way. Yep. I was watching it with him. He was showing me the pictures. He was so excited.
I was so excited when he came to the studio.
He really deserved to have something like that made for him because he's been playing since he was in high school. Yep. Curtis High School. He started playing with people, getting involved in bands and stuff, and eventually he toured the United States, mostly the eastern side of the country. We were actually looking at pictures today, and one of my favorites is Stevie shoved in the back of a truck with all these amps around him, and he's like curled up in a ball. And I was like, oh my God. And there's all these pictures of him at the shows, every band that he's performed in. He actually, we were going through his nightstand, and we found this stack of photos for over the years of all the bands that he played with and all the people he played with. And we're sitting there, and we're like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, I remember him. And it took me down memory lane because, like I said, I've been listening to John, Steve, and my father since I was born. They were at my first birthday party. They were a big part of my life. And to get that fact that they got back together again after all those years and started playing together again, it really made me happy. And I knew he was very happy to be back out there performing because, like he always said, I do it for the smiles on faces. I want to make people happy. He'd always make comments on the JWB page. I know exactly when he would write a post because I could tell exactly from the way he spoke. But he was always just like, oh, I want to see your smiling faces. Everyone get up, come to the show. We could do some dance. His favorite thing for some reason was naked dancing.
Yes, that was always the thing with Dave.
Every single post about a show. Oh, and don't worry, you could do some naked dancing. It's like, Dad, what are you talking about?
Like it's just a thing. Like one day you're just gonna walk in and you see everybody dancing naked, and then I was just like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Well, he said it himself. He introduced that.
He'd say it in the live videos too. When we would go live to promote a show, like he would just talk in the mic because I didn't know what it was bad enough for me to memorize the date of when to say. Dave would just hop on and be like, this is when we're going to be here. One day we were doing a show at Big Nose Kate's, and I said Hot Shots, and I turned around and I looked at John, and John looked at me. He's like, you said Hot Shots, Big Nose Kate's. I'm like, oh. So, Dave got on and fixed the whole, but he knew how to announce things and the way nobody else did. Like it made me crack up every time.
And he was always so welcoming to everyone too. Yep. Always made you feel so welcome, so appreciated, so heard.
Yep.
He is a phenomenal person.
He was a one-of-a-kind guy.
Yeah.
And as far as the guitar goes, then he deserved a one-of-a-kind guitar.
Absolutely. And I will be forever grateful that I had him as a father and that I got to spend all this time with him growing up and stuff.
I'm sure that would probably be the one thing that he would take out of this would be his favorite thing to hear would be those words you just said.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
So,
it was so nice to hear some of the stories about your dad and everything tonight, and you can never spend enough time on a person like Dave, without a doubt. But let's I don't want to sound callous, but we're going to be heading off in a few minutes. So is there anything else that you want to add about your dad?
Yeah, so we are getting everything sorted out right now. Mm-hmm. So we have decided September 9th, we're going to have the wakes for him, the memorial services. And We're gonna do 2 of them that day. We don't know what time yet, but we finalized the date today. Also, since I'm out here, I might as well. I'm gonna make a Facebook post tomorrow. But if anybody has any photos or memories that they want us to share at the services, we're gonna make a video to play along at the services too. So if anybody has any photos or videos of him playing or like memories of him, you can find me on Facebook, Kelsey Noel, KELSEYNOEL. I'm on his page too. Send everything my way because I'm gonna make a collection and we're gonna put something together for him. I know he touched a lot of lives and he impacted a lot of people's lives. Just being himself, really. Just being himself and caring and just being compassionate towards everyone. So if anybody has anything they'd like to share with me, or we're also going to do a photo board too. So if anybody has physical copies of photos that they want to bring with them to the services, those are more than appreciated as well. Any kind words about my father, send them my way. Any photos you have of him over the years playing in bands, all the shows and everything, send them my way because we're going to put something together for him just to celebrate his life, because it wasn't long enough, but it was a beautiful life.
And thank you guys for doing this tonight.
Yes,
for
yes.
Dave.
And I just want to
appreciate
let you guys know I greatly, greatly appreciate what you've done tonight, dedicating the show to him and having us on to talk about him and stuff.
As soon as he told me, I said, yeah, we're doing it.
No,
Listen,
we're very grateful. I mean, listen, we're very grateful that you guys came on. We know what you're going through. Well, we don't really know what you're going through, but we understand it, and they take the time out to come on. And we listen. It's Staten Island's a small place. Everybody's got a tie to everybody else, and sometimes you don't know people personally, but you know the name, or you know who, or you know the person. And we say it all the time. We look out for each other, and we need to celebrate each other along the way. And this is just our way of saying, thank you to Dave for the great music, and even more, thank you for being a great person. And it was nice to be able to have you guys on. And of course, also Steve and Pete Begley popped in a little bit, which is always a pleasure here. And so for me, I'll let Jeff wrap it up with you guys. But Kelsey, again, our condolences to you and your family. Thank you very much for coming on and giving us some time and bringing telling people about your dad and celebrating him with us here. And of course, please do us a favor, send us the information on his wakes or memorials.
Absolutely.
And we will absolutely we'll let people know for the next couple of weeks. So when you know what's going on, let Jeff know, and we'll put it on our pages and we'll put it on the show as well.
Absolutely.
And Mario, thank you for taking some time today, Mario.
Mario, all I can say to you is you're going to be fine one day, and you'll be out there playing again. And you do it in memory of Dave and Kelsey. Your dad was a great guy. We got to work with him. I've known him through work for a number of years and through the music scene on Staten Island for a number of years. Always a nice guy. You sound like you had an amazing connection with him. A lot of people would be jealous of that. You should remember that, and it's good for you. You know where we are. If you ever need anything, you just ask, and we can do it for you. We'll do it for you. Thank you for spending the time with us, especially. It's only a couple days that it's happened. We just wanted to do this for your dad, and I'm glad we got to do it.
So thankful and grateful for you guys for putting this together.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Anytime.
And Mario,
Please feel free to come on whenever you want. You want to talk about anything, music, whatever, please.
And Mario, whenever you guys decide to do something again, please let us know. We'll promote it. And of course, we'd like to be out there watching you guys do something again someday when you guys are obviously ready to do that. So please don't be afraid. And if you got any music next couple weeks, especially whatever the date of Memorial is, send it to us. We'd love to keep playing some of your music and have Dave's music. We opened the show with it tonight. We played it before the tribute again. We played some stuff that you sent me, and we'd like to keep doing that the next few weeks. So if you have any more that you'd like to get out there, because if you have any videos that we can upload and play before or during the shows, next couple
Yeah.
weeks, we'd be honored to do that for you. We know you got a lot going on, but we're out here, and just know that Staten Island has not and will not forget your dad.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Best to you both. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Jeff. Jeff. You did an amazing job, Jeff. You really did. You did an amazing job,
dude. Listen, that it was nice to do for the family and the people that knew Chris. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm looking at some of the names on the thing. That they did it. Kelsey and Mario, they did it. It must have been hard for them, especially his daughter.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it took their mind off it for a little bit, and you know.
Absolutely. And you know what, Jeff? The moral of the story is you never know when the last day is going to be. You never know when your last moment's going to be. Try not to leave with a regret. Try not to say what if. And for the people that you leave behind or the people that are here, don't have that what if. Make sure that you stay, that we have the conversations, you maintain those friendships. Don't look back and say, I should have called the guy one more time, or I should have, did this and that. So I think there's a lesson here. Beside the fact that Dave Weeks was probably a really great guy that most people think.
He was a very nice guy, man.
I think the lesson to that is you just never know when the last moment's going to be. It's not always, hey, you've got X and you got 6 months to live. Sometimes your last moment comes before you know it. And, make sure that you have no regrets and make sure you've left no stone unturned. And again, the last few years, I've gotten to do a lot of things. We tried the show with you. You're one of my dearest friends. I've gotten to play gigs, which I've always wanted to do. Standing next to you and Jimmy and some of our other friends. So I've gotten a lot of that stuff, and there's other stuff we're going to do down the road. There's a valuable lesson in Dave's passing, and we all should pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's not the kind of lesson that you want to think about everything. I understand what you're saying, and it is a shame, and not everybody gets to go at 85 years old in their sleep.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, some people go like Dave did when they still had plenty of time left ahead of them.
100% right.
I would just like to take a quick moment.
Sure, go ahead.
I got to go to the bathroom, and if you want to get us into the next, I know we got a few minutes left. If you want to. Whatever, I'll be right back.
You go ahead. We'll wrap it up and do it. Guys, Hard Rock Sports, Jeff Towinski, Tom Flory here every Thursday night, 7 to 9:30. Next Thursday night, Kazim Sultan, bass player for Blue Oyster Cult, and I think he spent some time in Cheap Trick and so many other bands, but he's got some solo stuff. And Kazim, Staten Island guy himself, will be popping up next Thursday night, talking to Jeff and I when we come on back and do it again next Thursday night. September 9th, Jeff and I will be back doing our NFL season opener. We will talk about the season preview. We'll go through all of that. Of course, we'll be here on Sundays starting September the 12th, not as the Hard Rock and Sports Show, right directly on SportsWire. We'll be doing our NFL about an hour and a half every Sunday. We'll be previewing the day's games with Jeff, myself, and of course our good friend John Marhefka from RFL Records will be the third wheel. Hanging out with us every Sunday. I'll announce the show name and all that stuff probably next week. But lots. Tonight was our show. Was our opportunity to say thank you to a very nice man who touched many lives, not only in his house but all over Staten Island. And I think Jeff did a fantastic job of getting people together and getting for them to come on and giving us a few minutes to explain who Dave was and what he meant to them. And I'm glad that so many people checked in tonight. Some people left some comments. And, I would have to say that I hope when my day comes that people will talk about me the way they talked about Dave tonight. I think that if, nobody wants to think about their demise and their passing, but if I had to say, I hope that when my time comes, if we're still doing a radio station, Jeff will pop up and do something
Chris.
to me. But
I don't think he washed his hands.
I want to say, but again, I hope when my time comes, people talk to me the way that everybody here spoke about David Weeks tonight. And again, he's gone very short time, and I'm sure he won't be forgotten by those who know him best. And again, I want to thank Jeff for handling the bulk of that. He did a fantastic job. I thought he got a lot out of Kelsey and Mario and Steve, and really got to the essence of who he was.
Yeah, they had a lot to talk about. It seemed as though that there was no shortage of stories with Dave. You know, he did a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, listen, hopefully it kept their minds occupied for a little bit. You know, I mean, it's good for them if it did. If not, maybe it helped get a little bit out for them. Who knows? You know, it is what it is.
It could be a little therapy, Jeff, where you can
definitely, without a doubt.
You're not sitting in a house and reminiscing, and sometimes you could talk in it, and I'm sure for a lot of ways for both of them, hearing and seeing some of the comments from others and how people think about your dad or your friend, I think it's therapeutic in a certain way. So I'm glad,
without a doubt,
that we have the ability here to get people together. We've done it with our benefits. We've done it with we had the one for Fitz a few years back, and this one to me was even better, a little more participation, and it was a great job by you putting it together, and it was a great job by you handling the show tonight.
Well, listen, like I said, it was something that I just felt it was the right thing to do.
Yep.
So it's it is what it is. We did the right thing.
Absolutely. And I didn't have to hear you bashing the Giants. And I didn't have to hear you bashing the Giants.
But I have a few minutes, and everything that you're saying about
5 minutes. We'll go 5 minutes.
That you should, be grateful for this and grateful for that. I have a few things I'm going to say, and one of the things I have to say is I am grateful. I am not a fucking Giant fan, and I'll tell you why. All right.
We just had a nice tribute. You're going to end it on a bad note?
No. I mean,
You took the glasses off. Look at this.
I took the glasses off because I must unload this venom on you, man. Somebody has to get it. One, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
He's a waste of time.
Okay.
God. He's a waste of time. He's not even out there practicing hard. Waste of time. That's one thing. Two, Daniel Jones. If you threw Daniel Jones out of a fucking plane, he wouldn't hit the ground. Okay, that's how bad it is. 2, 3, that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's been a problem for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. They suck. All right, and then to top it all off, Gettleman. This guy's got to go. Tom, come on. You're believing in nothing. You might as well ask for Santa. What is it? It's Eli. Anthony Carey. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Eli hasn't been on the field for the Giants in what, 3 years now? Thank God.
2 years.
2 years. Mm-hmm. Thank God. They mercifully put him out of his own misery and shot him out in the field, man. Yeah. See, you have this way to attack me. I can't. What am I going to do? Do a private chat and attack you there?
I told you all the time, you're welcome to. I'll give you the login information. And you can control the show anytime. But who would want to hear your putrid? We just had a beautiful tribute, and you're going to end it with this fake news.
There's not fake news. What the fuck? You won 13 games in 4 fucking years.
Do you hear me attacking your bad team who hasn't had a good season?
Dude, I attacked my own bad team. What are you talking about? You know the best part? Here's the thing. This is the difference between Jet fans and Giant fans, okay? A Giants team could go 0-16, and you're still going to turn around and say, well, the quarterback, he only threw 35 interceptions this year, but he threw 12 touchdown passes. So he's coming along. No, he's not. He sucks. If a Jets player had the same stats, a Jets quarterback had the same stats, be like, this motherfucker should be put out behind the stadium and shot.
You guys have never had a good season.
Should be shot. He should be hung first, then shot, and then lit on fire.
The Giants expect greatness. We accept failure. You guys,
you have no problem. We have no reason to accept failure. No option to accept failure because you've been failure for the last 4 or 5 years.
And you guys have been failures for 50. You can't come on here.
So what? I never once ever said I like the Jets. I root for the Jets, but I never once ever said that the Jets were a better team. Tom, you could go on Spotify and listen for yourself. and you know it. You know it. You know it.
Listen, first of all,
Even when you said that
the
the Jets were going to be a better team, I said no, they weren't. I said they suck.
I get the text all the time. Zach Wilson's is the man. This is the turnaround. I see the sunshine and the horizons. I get all those text messages. But then you come on here with the.
Do you have that? Do you have that proof?
I keep every text.
Do you have that proof? I got every text too.
I have every text.
I got every text too. Look, I'm going to read one from you today.
Good. Send it.
Look, I'm kind of worried about the Giants. I think they're going to suck this year.
Listen.
Gettleman is not the guy. Tom, don't worry about that. They didn't even stop playing this year. That's what he said right here. See?
You'll never find that text on his phone. I promise you, because I have the same text, so I know what he's got, and it's nothing like.
And then he sends me this picture. Okay, let's show everybody the picture you sent me.
Which one?
Robert Salah.
I didn't send you that picture.
You said you can't even see it, but there he is.
I didn't send you that picture. You sent me that picture. Like all of a sudden, this guy's you know what? He's not the next Tom Landry. He's probably the next Rex Ryan. Another guy. I'm the greatest coach in the whole world.
He didn't fucking say anything.
Yeah. That's how he talked.
Look. You know. This fucking guy. Wait till Tuesday, motherfucker.
It is, Chris. I do.
No more fucking cake for you, Chris.
So, listen, I'll tell you this. I am a Giant fan. We expect greatness. Okay? That's how it rolls. Okay?
It rolled right like a curd out of somebody's ass.
Now, 9, maybe 10 wins.
No.
The division, and maybe a playoff win. I'll take just making the playoffs this year. On our way to 2 years from now, Super Bowl bound.
Look at this. Look at this. You got figs. That's good. I have somebody that makes fig cake. What do you know?
But guys, we'll do this next Thursday and every Thursday from here in. As long as there's football in the future, I'm sure we're going to be lots of stuff to get to next week. Again, Kazim Sultan, bass player extraordinaire.
Yeah, that's going to be good, man. Kazim is always cool when he comes on.
Kazim's been a great one of our favorite guests. We got to meet him a couple of years back when we celebrated our 50th year anniversary down at Juicy Lucy. So I'm looking forward to next Thursday. Again, the 9th. On the 9th, Jeff and I will do a big football thing. We'll give our predictions. We'll run through the schedules. We'll do it all. And, again, we got a lot to get to tonight, but we'll get it back in next week. I want to talk about Baby Nirvana. I want to talk about Geezer Butler. We'll talk NFL quarterbacks. But the clock, the bewitching hour is here, and we got to cut this off because I have to turn this show over and get it ready for SportsWire on Monday. So, Jeff, I'll start there. First off, thank you to everybody who paid attention tonight to the show. Thanks for everybody who tuned in for the big tribute, and for us in general. Thanks to Pete Begley, Steve Barber, Kelsey, and of course Mario Ortiz for that great tribute to David Weeks. Thanks to everybody who paid attention to our show out there, and thanks to Jeff, my brother, for putting this whole thing together and doing a spectacular job as usual with this. Other than his Giants analysis, he does a great job on the show.
Listen. Like I said, it was the right thing to do. And once the Giants are dead this year, we're going to do a little tribute show for them too. Yeah. So figure about week 3. Huh?
Is that how you want to end your night? Is that how you're ending the night? Is that it? That's where it goes?
Nah. You know how I'm going to end the night? It was a nice night. Yeah. It was nice to see a lot of people come in and sit with us for a little bit while we talked about Dave, and it was nice. And Mike Bifocal, thank you.
Yep.
And you know what? It made those people feel a little bit better for a while, and that's all that matters at this point in time.
100%, Jeff. 100%.
You know, it's a shame. It is what it is.
Yeah,
like you said, it can't change what happened, and God forbid it could happen to any one of us at any time. And so nothing is promised.
That's it. That's a great way to say it, guys. Make sure you kiss your loved ones, check in with your friends, and even put up with guys who have bad NFL analysis. because you loved him anyway. But guys, we'll wrap this up tonight. Again, thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody who watched us. Make sure you check us out when we go to SportsWire on the replay Monday. You can go to Spotify, go to the podcast section, click in Hard Rockin' Sports, and you'll find all 400 and something shows from the past. And of course, go to our Facebook page and let us. You make sure you like us, send us a friend request. YouTube, go to our YouTube channel, and of course, we're here every Thursday night live, 7 to 9:30. So, if Jeff's got nothing to say for Jeff, myself, and everybody here at the Hard Rockin' Sports Show, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of our Thursday night. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you here next Thursday night, August. That's be September. We'll be into the month of September with
September 2nd, man.
Yep, Kazim Sultan, right here on the Hard Rockin' Sports Show. So have a great weekend, and I'm sure I'll hear your bullshit tomorrow.
No, fuck you. I ain't texting you tomorrow, man.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, you're right.
See you later, pal. Great night.
Later.
Hey, everybody. Good
Good
night.
night.